Hello, everyone, and welcome to First Draft Star Wars here on twitch.tv/live action roleplay. As you can see, we have an all-star cast who wanted to read for Star Wars, so we're going to have everyone do their intros. They're going to say who they are and what characters they are playing, and then we will continue. We're going to start off with Aki. Say hi, Aki.
God, hi, Aki. Hi, everybody. I'm Aki. I'm going to be playing Han Solo tonight. I'm really excited.
All right. Next, we go over to Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. I will be playing the narrator. This is, in fact, a role that I chose because I edited the script, and then I'm like, who has the most lines? Oh, the narrator. I like the sound of my own voice. Let's jump on top of that. So that's all from me for now. There'll be a lot more from me later.
Yes, let's jump on top of Chris. Next, we're going to go over to PJ. Say hi, PJ.
Hey, PJ. I am PJ Megaw, and I am playing Kane Starkiller.
All right. Thank you, PJ. Next, we go over to Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. That's me, and I'm going to be playing General Skywalker.
All right. Next, we go over to Tobias. Say hi, Tobias.
Hi, Tobias, and I missed that joke. I'm Tobias McCurry. I will be playing the role of King Kayos, Owen Lars, Devil Six, and the Controller. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'll be Spring Hill Studios in your chat.
All right. Next, we go over to Gil. Say hi, Gil.
Hi, Gil. My name is Gil, and I'll be playing the various roles here. I've got Count, Sandage, various other, peppered throughout the thing, but most notably the Emperor Dashit. Middle name because I'm the shit.
Because you are Dashit. Next, we go over to Wes. Say hi, Wes.
Hi, Wes. Hi, guys. I am Wes, and I'm playing Clieg Whitsun. Very excited.
All right. Next, we go over to Courtney. Say hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney. Hi, I'm Courtney Kraft, and I'm playing the iconic Princess Leia. But one really, really big difference y'all should know in this version of Star Wars, she is 14. Okay? I'm watching you. Y'all thinking about this bikini. She's 14.
Simp respectfully.
Yes.
Yes. Again, she is 14. Some of these descriptions will be in script. Next, we go over to Sin. Say hi, Sin.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Marie. I'm going to be playing General Darth Vader and Devil 4.
All right. Next, we go over to Zakia. Say hi.
Hi, Zakia. I'm Zakia. I'm playing Crispin, Hoedaack, and a couple of other people. And you just have to watch to find out.
All right. Next, we go over to Brettney. Say hi, Brettney.
Hi, Brettney. I'm doing great. So I'm going to be playing Breha, Vantos Bale A, Wendy, crew chief, pilot leader, and Beru. Got a lot of roles here.
A lot of roles. Next, we go over to Ames. Say hi, Ames.
Hello, I'm Tiffany, or Royal Ames, and today I'm playing Deke and Biggs and a lot of other roles as well.
Next, we go over to Blythe. Say hi, Blythe.
Hello, I am Blythe, and I am playing Annikin Starkiller, who is 18 in this. Things to know for what's to come.
Things to know. Before we continue, just wanted to let you know the reason why we are doing First Draft Star Wars is because Blythe helped me find this script. And the rule is, if you find this script and we end up performing it, you get your first pick of any role, and they chose Annikin, which makes a lot of sense. So we have Blythe to thank for tonight's show. Next, we go over to Amanda. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Pronouns she, her. I'll be playing Captain Montross Dados and an aide tonight.
All right. Next, we go over to Taylor. Say hi, Taylor.
Hello. I'm Taylor Frost. My pronouns are he, him, and I'll be playing Prince Valorum, and as well as some officer roles.
Next, we go over to Michael Powell. Say hi, Powell.
Hi, Powell. I'm Michael Powell, and I am playing the role of C-3PO, Human-Cyborg Relations.
Next, we go over to Finn. Say hi, Finn.
Hi, Finn. Hello. I'm Finn. My pronouns are he, him, and I will be playing R2-D2.
And next we go over to Hunter. Say hi, Hunter.
Hi, Hunter. That's me, and I'm going to be playing Pilot Leader Mace as well as Mur Nash and a couple of guards.
Okay, so before we begin, we just want to give you a little bit of context. So the rough draft, or the first draft that we are performing, was written by George Lucas in 1974. So with that said, be aware that certain conventions within storytelling, and certain parts of the culture when it comes to movies exist in the 1970s. So keep that in mind when it comes to certain behaviors. And remember that, A, that's the context of this writing. The other thing is, this is the first draft of things. So things have been edited and changed, but you will recognize a lot of the things in this script when it comes to what your knowledge of Star Wars episodes 1 through 5. Also, this script has been abridged because otherwise the script is 129 pages long. We have cut out excess scenes where it doesn't really relate to the storyline, and Chris also helped with the edits because when George Lucas wrote a lot of this, he did not explain if a general character was either Vader or Skywalker. And that bit, and even there's also a third general that is neither of these, so that has become problematic, and Chris has gone through the entire script to fix that. All right, with that started, let's get underway. Chris, the narration is yours. Everyone go ahead and turn off your cameras and turn on your camera when you are in scene.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And I will actually be turning off my camera as well. I'll be the invisible voice through this whole thing. All right. The Star Wars by George Lucas. Rough draft, Lucasfilm, May of 1974. Fade in, space. A sea of stars is broken by the vast blue surface of the planet Utapau. 5 small moons slowly drift into view from the far side of the planet. The main titles are followed by a roll-up. Until the recent Great Rebellion, the Jedi Bendu were the most feared warriors in the universe. For 100,000 years, generations of Jedi perfected their art as the personal bodyguards of the Emperor. They were the chief architects of the invincible Imperial Space Force, which expanded the Empire across the galaxy, from the celestial equator to the farthest reaches of the Great Rift. Now, these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one, they have been hunted down and destroyed as enemies of the new Empire, by a ferocious and sinister rival warrior sect, the Knights of Sith. Supply hut, 4th moon, Utapau. A spacecraft, half buried in the dust, rests next to the remains of an abandoned supply shack. Annikin makes his way across the colorless landscape and rushes into the crumbling building. The interior of the hut is shabby, but manages to abate the howling winds. Seated in front of a thermoheater are Annikin's father, Kane, and his young brother, Deke. Kane is a large burly man wearing the distinctive robes of a Jedi. Deke is 10 years old with dusty blonde hair and a large scratch on his cheek. Annikin slams the door and removes his gear. His ruggedly handsome face is caked with many layers of dust.
Dad, they found us.
Deke looks up from a small cube he has been studying. His father whacks him across the shoulder with a braided wire connector.
Continue with the problem. Your concentration is worse than your brother's. How many?
Only one this time. A band of 4.
Good. We may not have to repair this old bucket after all. Prepare yourself.
Me too.
Do you have the answer?
I think it's the Corbett dictum. What is without.
Kane smiles. This is the correct answer. Annikin is strapping on a utility belt with chrome laser pistols and laser sword. Kane rises and starts for his equipment.
Aw, Pop.
Deke, do you feel you are ready?
Yes, sir. I've outmarked Annikin in 12 disciplines. I'm as good.
All right, son, go get your gear.
Deke jumps up with the enthusiasm available only to a 10-year-old and grabs his gear. His father frowns and shakes his head. Wasteland Bluff, 4th moon, Utapau. Kane Starkiller and his 2 sons carefully make their way up a rock bluff overlooking the parked Silver Sith spacecraft. Kane inspects the craft with his electro binoculars.
No tracks. Bylock hasn't been opened. Interior systems are still on.
Are we going to wait for him to come out?
He's not in there. He's baiting us. I'm surprised he only sent one this time. We must be wearing them down, or they must think this night is something special. Stay on guard and keep hidden. I'm going to work my way across the ridge and call his bluff. Better we meet in open combat than wait for him to ambush us. Keep your guard.
Kane leaves his two sons and moves off along the obscured ridge. Annikin and Deke watch him intently. Annikin throws down his multiple laser rifle in disgust.
He should have let me go with him. He's getting too old to make an open challenge.
Not too old to realize you just get in the way.
Annikin ignores his little brother's remark and sneaks a look over the ridge at the Sith spacecraft. Kane moves out of the rock some distance away and starts toward the starship. Deke moves to the ridge next to his brother, his chrome laser rifle sparkling in the reflected light of Utapau.
He's making his move.
Watch your guard and cover that weapon. It shines like a beacon.
Deke reluctantly moves away and watches the other direction. Kane has almost reached the Sith spacecraft, and still there is no sign of its occupant.
What's happening?
Nothing. I don't like it.
Kane carefully moves to the main hatch of the starship. He kicks a valve and the hatch drops open with a loud clank and rushing gas. Annikin becomes more tense as his father carefully moves inside the spacecraft. Everything is still. Even the continual winds seem to have died down. Moments pass with no sign of activity inside the enemy starship. Annikin watches the craft with his electro binoculars. The waiting becomes unbearable.
Something's happened. He's been in there too long.
Let me look. Stand my guard.
Deke takes the electro binoculars from his brother and studies the silent spacecraft. Annikin impatiently scans the opposite horizon.
I think the power just went off. We'd better wait here until someone comes out.
But what if he needs help?
The power went back on again.
With the aid of the electro binoculars, Deke watches the running lights of the starship flash on and off. Suddenly, something huge moves in front of his field of view. Before either of the two young boys can react, a large, sinister Sith warrior in black robes and a face mask looms over them. He carries a long laser sword, which cuts down young Deke before he or his brother are able to raise their weapons. The startled Annikin backs away in horror, then settles down and ignites his laser sword, which creates an eerie red glow. The Black Knight is at least 7 feet tall and dwarfs the young Jedi. They stand for a few moments, almost frozen. Then, in a flurry of blows, laser swords clash with the sound of electric snapping and popping. Annikin is barely able to hold his own against the experienced knight. Many blows are exchanged before the Sith warrior is able to back Annikin up against a deep crevasse. Annikin stumbles and almost falls over the cliff to his death. The Black Knight suddenly senses something behind him and whirls around to face Anakin's father, Kane Starkiller, a Jedi Bendu master. The Sith warrior raises his laser sword, but is cut in two before he can bring it down again. Kane sees his dead son, Deke, and goes to him. He lifts him into his arms and begins to weep. Annikin stands bewildered, watching his father cradle his dead brother. Interior, Sith starship, Wasteland, Canyon, Utapau. Kane Starkiller slides into one of the 4 seats of the small Sith starship. Through the front viewing canopy, he watches Annikin drag his younger brother's body to a small crevasse. Annikin places a small locket around his brother's neck, makes a complicated sign with his hand, and dumps the body into the shallow depression. The giant engines of the spacecraft begin to whine, kicking up large clouds of dust.
How many more of them are there? I want to finish it once and for all. I am sick of running. When will it stop?
Anakin's father waits silently until his son's tirade is finished. Annikin sits silently for a few moments.
I'm sorry.
Son, plot a course for Aquile.
Annikin lights up like a bantha at feeding time.
Aquile, you mean we're going home?
We both need a rest.
Kane pulls back on the throttle, and the powerful spaceship lifts off the surface of the 4th moon of Utapau. Cloud Sea, Alderaan. A title card appears over a sea of billowing clouds on the gaseous planet of Alderaan. Alderaan, capital of the new galactic empire. The towering white oxide clouds pass, revealing the imperial city of Alderaan. The magnificent domed and gleaming city is perched mushroom-like on a tall spire, which disappears deep into the misty surface of the planet. The peacefulness of this nebulous idol is broken by the increasing wail of ion engines. 4 sleek star destroyers from the Imperial 3rd Fleet burst from one of the huge cumulus ranges. The craft are flying in a tight formation as they bank steeply and head toward the Imperial capital of the galaxy. Interior of Star Destroyer, Alderaan. Star Destroyers are two-man spacecraft crammed with sophisticated electronic weaponry. The pilot and gunnery officers sit side by side, accompanied by lighted readouts and switches. They wear the gleaming black uniforms of the Empire.
Talk 1 to chicks. Shape it up. Let's make it good.
Does that glare bother you?
Use your face shield, chick 1.
The pilot is cold and professional as he maneuvers his craft closer to the others. The positions of the ships are displayed on a readout, along with a graphic representation of the city. The pilot gives the gunner a quick look before he flips his sun shield over his eyes.
Here we go. Count. 3, 2, 1, now.
Review stand, Plaza of the Dater, Alderaan. On a huge austere platform stands the dark Dashit, Lord of Alderaan, consul to the Supreme Tribunal, ruler and emperor of the Galactic Empire. He is a thin, gray-looking man with an evil mustache, which hangs limply over his insipid lip. On Dashit's left stands Crispin Hoedaack, newly appointed governor of the Aqualayan systems, a young, treacherous man with stone-cut, angular features and piercing gray eyes. The plaza of the Dater is filled with 100 rows of troops as the last brigade marches into position. The sound of 1,000 men snapping to attention is followed by a strange silence.
Upon this battle depends the survival of the Galactic Empire. Upon this battle depends the life and long continuity of our civilization. Not since the Great Jedi Rebellion has our destiny been placed in such a balance. This is to be the most magnificent campaign of all. You have never been called without doing something to be remembered, something notable and striking. The conquering of Aquilian system, the last of the independent systems and the last refuge of the outlawed, vile sect of the Jedi, will have such important and lasting consequences that I cannot but consider it an epoch in history.
To the rear of the plaza, watching the spectacle over the shoulder of a curious bureaucrat, stands Clieg Whitsun, a tall, blonde young man, about 20 years old. He seems interested in what the Emperor has to say, but keeps looking around nervously as if someone were after him. His arm rests across his head as he carefully but coolly adjusts a glowing blue ring on his index finger.
I have personally asked the Aquilians to accept this treaty of alliance. During the long period of negotiation, they have only decided to be undecided. We will barter no longer. Governor Hoedaack has been appointed First Lord of the Aquilian system and surrounding territories. This is the last frontier and the final stone in the Great War of the Galactic Empire.
The troops cheer, and the Emperor escorts Hoedaack inside. Whitsun moves quickly away from the plaza, passing through several check stations where he is forced to show his identification. Nightclub, Alderaan. Whitsun walks into the glass and chrome splendor of one of the famous nightclubs of Alderaan. He moves to the long mirrored bar and sits next to a rough-looking man, Bail Antilles, dressed in the distinctive gold and furs of the galactic traders.
Glass is empty.
Whitsun speaks into a small intercom on the bar front.
Dantic and...
He looks in Antilles' glass.
Whitsun, we've got problems.
I'm sorry, rewind to no
Sorry.
thanks.
No thanks, Whitsun. I've had enough.
Just a Dantic then. But Bale, it's not like you to refuse a drink. You're gonna give the Galactic Traders a bad name.
A drink appears magically from a small elevator in the bar. Whitsun takes it and then places a pen-like transmitter he has taken from his pocket next to the intercom. It creates a low electronic buzz. Bar Observation Center in Alderaan. The controller sitting in front of a row of monitors taps his headphones, then flips a switch back and forth a couple of times. He's obviously annoyed.
Number 18's out again. Give me a maintenance check.
The controller yawns and puts his feet up on the control panel. In the nightclub in Alderaan, Whitsun leans in close to Antilles. He is suddenly very serious.
Whitsun, we've got problems. They've just grounded all spacecraft, including trade freights. Even the ships under the Imperial Registry can't move.
I afraid they're not waiting for the alliance treaty. They're already moving against the system. I've got to get word back.
The Chrome companies are protesting the embargo, but it's going to take some time.
Isn't anything moving?
Military ships, but
They are interrupted by an Imperial officer and several stormtroopers. The officer shouts over the PA system as the troops rush to block the exit. Whitsun and the Galactic Trader are tense but remain cool. I'll step in. Officer, attention.
hold
All
on.
captains and first officers of Guild Trade frigates will accompany me to the Ministry of Transport immediately.
Taylor, you're muted.
Taylor, you're
Antilles
muted.
gives Whitsun a hopeless look as the troops check their papers and then take Antilles away. A small fight breaks out in the back of the nightclub as one of the trader captains expresses his dislike of the Empire. Whitsun slams his glass to the bar in a gesture of hate and frustration. Governor Hoedaack's quarters, Alderaan. The large white-on-white executive quarters resound with the high-pitched laugh of the evil Governor Hoedaack. He slaps Darth Vader, a tall, grim-looking general, on the back, and the general's mouth makes the slightest gesture towards smiling.
Success, I told you. We're no longer under the control of the great families. We've gained a true advantage.
Vivantos Cole, a member of the Supreme Tribunal and a man of the grossest dimensions, appears to be a little worried.
rather dangerous advantage. You still have a system to conquer.
But this system will bring us more scientific wealth than that of any other house in the tribunal. We'll easily gain control of the dictatorship.
Don't underestimate the armies of Annikin. They're led by a Jedi.
I've told you about our good Vantis Cole, General. He worries a lot.
It's a myth that any Jedi still exists.
General Skywalker is no myth. When I first arrived at court, he was the first bodyguard to the Emperor. He led the Jedi Rebellion.
Sieg Darklighter led the rebellion.
So the Emperor would have you think, but I was there.
Then why wasn't he hunted down like the others?
Because he is too dangerous, too clever. Besides, his presence on Aquila is still only a rumor.
Then why do you believe it?
Because I knew him. He's there, all right. I can sense it. Mark my words, Aquila will not be easily conquered.
Library, Palace of Light, Aquila. The Palace Library is a dim, cool room projecting an aura of time-worn comfort and security. In the distance, the children can be heard screaming through the corridors. King Kayos, silver-haired but amazingly youthful under a tanned and leathery face, motions for one of his aides to shut the partially closed door. He is in the middle of an emergency meeting of the Aquilean High Senate. The 12 men sit in overstuffed chairs placed in a large circle. A large, sallow-eyed galactic trader named A. Zevos fiddles nervously with a small scrap of leather as he speaks.
My lord, the Chrome companies are with you in spirit, but you may understand they can't openly support you. Imperial trade restrictions are very unfavorable. We, of course, do favor your independence.
If there were to be war, would your frigates still supply us?
Your bluntness is to be commended. It could be arranged.
Count Sandage, a corrupt noble of the Senate, jumps to his feet in a rage.
This is nonsense. We have no choice but to approve the treaty. If there is war, the Empire will destroy our entire system with a snap of its fingers. General Skywalker is a dreamer. If he thinks he can mount to any meaningful resistance, and you are dreamers if you believe him. So much trust in one aged man. You must see.
At that moment, all heads turn as someone enters the room. It is General Luke Skywalker, commander of the Aquilean Star Force. He is a large man, apparently in his early 60s, but actually much older. Everyone senses the aura of power that radiates from this great warrior. Here is a leader, a Jedi general. He looks weary, but is still a magnificent-looking warrior. His face, cracked and weathered by exotic climates, is set off by a close silver beard and dark, penetrating eyes. Sandage is somewhat embarrassed and quietly sits down.
Is there anyone here so naive he believes the Empire will even bother negotiating? if they were contemplating destruction of this system. Your Excellencies, this is more than a simple raid on your resources. You must reach a decision.
Mir Nash, a thin bird-like senator, turns to the general.
General Skywalker, war is a serious business, a deadly business.
Procrastination is a deadly business, Senator. War is my business. Have you approved my defense measures?
The Grand Moff Tarkin wears the long black robes of the Aquilean religion. He speaks with a high, cracking voice.
The actual war with the Empire is still only remotely possibility. As military treaties, your proposal has certain merits, but in the harsh light of reality, an attack against the Empire appears to be a somewhat extreme stance.
You must understand, General, we are interested in avoiding a war, not starting one.
There are times when offense makes the best defense. If that alliance treaty isn't signed, we will need all of the advantage we can get.
Count Sandage, I want you to head the delegation to Alderaan. You will leave tomorrow with our answer regarding the treaty. My decision will be forthcoming.
The senators whisper among themselves.
All right, then. May the force of others be with you all.
The senators leave in a flurry of hushed conversation. The general is lost in thought and remains in his chair. Biggs and Windy, the king's two young sons, storm through the existing senators and rush onto Kayos' lap. The king is obviously very proud of the two young princes. He throws Biggs into the air and then catches him again.
Me too, me too.
Leia's leaving. You gotta say goodbye.
The king picks up Windy and swings him around, then puts him down.
Okay, whippersnapper, go tell your mother and your sister that I'm on the way.
The two boys run out of the room and are heard yelling and screaming down the hallway. The king starts out, but stops in front of the general.
Luke, my daughter's leaving for the academy at Chathos. Won't you come and wish her well? It would mean a lot to her. She truly idolizes you, you know. Come on. The war will wait.
Of course. I'm sorry, my lord. Politics always seems to distress me.
The general rises, and as they head for the door, Kayos pats him on the back.
I know, Luke. I feel the force also.
Courtyard, Palace of Light, Aquila. A large four-seat speeder sits gleaming in the sun-soaked courtyard. The princess, Leia, about 14 years old, possessing a soft beauty and iron will, is embracing her mother, Queen Breha, a warm, silver-haired matron. There are tears in the princess's blue eyes. Biggs and Windy jump around inside the speeder, disrupting the efforts of the one-armed Amber to pack several plaxiform cases. Leia embraces the king as he approaches with the general.
Oh, Daddy, I'll miss you so.
The semester will be over before you know it. You'll have a grand time. There are so many new things to learn. I wish I were going.
He gives her a fatherly smile, and she hugs him again. The general stands rather formally to one side. The princess, her long auburn hair tied in braids, moves to the general, and he bows before her.
May your studies do you honor.
Leia is somewhat embarrassed by the general's formality and can only manage an awkward smile before returning to her parents at the speeder.
Hurry, Leia. You must make it to Yule before nightfall.
The princess waves to her family, and one of Leia's handmaidens, Mina, waves to Alana, another, as the speeder slowly glides out of the courtyard. War Room, Underground Fortress, Aquila. The War Room is a massive glass enclosures, electronic wall displays, monitors, and computer stations. General Skywalker enters a control station, followed by a covey of military aides of various ranks.
Montrose.
Captain Montrose, one of the general's aides, snaps to attention.
Sir,
What's the TQ on this?
the last frigate to leave the Imperial capital was at 2340, sir.
The ship that all left the planet.
Sure.
Check with the guild on Norton 3.
At 2400, a full battalion of Star Destroyers left for what is projected to be Anchorhead or a nearby system.
And no word from Whitsun. He should have reported by now. Captain Prue.
An older, academic-looking aide steps forward.
Sir,
What do you make of this?
the battalion is an invasion force, but the Empire controls that entire part of the galaxy. A revolution, maybe. At any rate, they're going in the wrong direction to be any trouble for us.
The general ponders this for a few moments, then speaks almost to himself.
I don't know. It doesn't feel good.
Sir?
Put him on alert.
A loud uproar is heard on the far side of the war room. Everyone turns to see a foreign-dressed warrior pushing his way past several guards and war room bureaucrats. The warrior, with his long hair tied in an odd bun on the top of his head, is Kane Starkiller. He is followed by his son, Annikin, who rudely pushes the pesky bureaucrats out of the way.
It's restricted. You'll have to wait.
Get out of my way, boy, before I grind you into the surface.
As the dauntless Starkiller approaches the general, the guards stop in bewilderment as General Skywalker rushes up to the warrior and embraces him. The two Jedi warriors laugh jubilantly and slap one another as the aides and bureaucrats look on in amazement.
Kane Starkiller, you old muscle rat. What a sight. We heard that you had been executed.
So the Empire would like to believe. I've been in the Kessler system. You remember little Annikin?
Kane puts his arm around his son, who has been making eyes at one of the cute young female aides. He bows before the general.
He takes after his mother. It's good to see you.
It's wonderful to be with another Jedi again. There are so few of us left.
The cute aide goes back to her duties, flirting with Annikin as she passes. The two Jedi stand looking at one another, hardly believing the other is real. Finally, the general realizes his aides are standing around, gawking at the duo.
Wake up, gentlemen. You're on alert. Keep me posted on that battalion.
Control station, Underground Fortress, Aquila. The general, Starkiller, and Annikin enter a small glass-enclosed control office. They sit, and an awkward silence passes as each man waits for the other to speak.
I've come for your help.
Anything you ask. You're my brother. You're one.
My friend, we've been through much together. I've been through much since we've parted. I've lost much. The Empire has chased us halfway across the galaxy. There's no refuge. One day they will come here, take my son as your Padawan learner. He would be a Jedi. I've trained him from birth. He's reached the 5th stage. He fought in the Cassilian Civil Wars and commanded a Hubble expedition to the Cone systems. He's a good boy, Luke. And one hell of a fighter.
The general looks down, somewhat embarrassed. He scratches his head, then smiles.
Old friend, you do me too much honor. I was never a match for you. Why don't you finish his training yourself?
I'm too old, Luke. I can't go on. You must finish it.
What kind of talk is this? You're not the Starkiller I remember. Too old?
Starkiller suddenly ignites in a rage and swings his left forearm down with a mighty blow across the solid chrome desk the general is sitting on. The old Jedi warrior's forearm cracks in two, spewing forth wires and many fine multicolored electronic components. The artificial limb flops lifelessly to Starkiller's side. The warrior rips open his tunic, revealing a plastic chest stuffed with flashing electronic parts.
I'm not the same. There's nothing left but my head and my right arm. I've lost too much, Luke. I'm dying.
The general bows his head in sorrow for one of the greatest warriors in the galaxy and a dear friend.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I keep losing control. I'm very tired. Take my son. The Jedi Bandhu must survive. We must pass it on. Only a Jedi can stop the Empire. We're very old, Luke. A new generation of Jedi must be started. Take him. Teach him the way. The Jedi Bandhu.
Captain Montross bursts into the office and somewhat excitedly salutes the general.
Sir, we picked up something. An asteroid or solid comet moving away from the anchorhead system.
War room, Underground Fortress, Aquila. The general rushes out of the control station and back to the giant galactic display. He is followed by Montross, Starkiller, and Annikin.
You sure it's not the battalion?
A solid object. It's as big as our 3rd moon.
It's too large to be man-made, and it's too slow to be a comet.
Analysis?
It's too far out.
I'll be with the king. Report as soon as you can get a reading on it. Captain Starkiller, from now on you stick close to me.
The older Starkiller smiles and puts his good arm around his old friend. Dining chamber, Palace of Light, Aquila. King Kayos moves his arm around Breha's waist as they stand on a balcony watching the giant twin suns of Aquila disappear behind a distant Ordune range. The general enters, rather in a rush, followed by the young Starkiller, who is now dressed in the white uniform of the Aquilean Star Force. He still wears the distinctive Cassilian hair knot. They bow before the king.
Aren't they beautiful, General? Always and never the same. You're just in time for dinner.
I have come for other reasons. Good.
Relax, General. We will discuss it, but over dinner. There are times, Luke, when I find you a bit too rigid. Is this your new disciple?
Starkiller is ill at ease and bows again.
Annikin Starkiller, sir.
Where's Kane?
He left for the spaceport at Gordon to visit an old friend, Han Solo, the Aurelian.
We are becoming quite a refuge.
The group sits at a large table and food is brought in by servants. They eat. Starkiller is nervous and watches the general to make sure he is being proper.
My lord, several events have occurred that lead me to believe we are in imminent danger of attack. There is no longer time for discussion and debate.
What events?
Whitsun, our best agent, has disappeared in the Imperial capital. There is unusual military traffic in the S4 sectors.
Unless you have direct, concrete proof of a pending attack, there's nothing I can do.
By the time we have proof, it may be too late.
Luke, I'm leaving tonight for Amzel. I'm meeting with the full assembly first thing in the morning. I'm not going to approve the alliance treaty, and I will get your defense measure approved. Just be patient. You will have the war code.
Tomorrow may be too late. My lord, I need the war code now. We must get our forces into space.
But it must be done legally, with everyone's approval. Tomorrow you will have that. I doubt the Empire would attack before receiving our answer. The separation of war powers is the one condition upon which you assumed command of our forces. You're a friend, Luke, and I trust you. But you're also an outlander who controls a great deal of power. I can't forsake my oath any more than you can. Just be patient. You will have the code tomorrow.
Captain Montross enters the large chamber and bows before the king.
I have a report to General Skywalker, my lord.
You may deliver it.
Sir, the asteroid has disappeared from our scopes. There's no trace of it.
Were they able to analyze it?
It never came within range, sir.
The general rises, quickly followed by Starkiller.
Excuse us, my lord, we better get back. I will wait patiently for the approval.
The general and Montross exit the chamber. Starkiller takes one last bite of his dinner, then dashes after his mentor. War room, underground fortress, Aquila. The general sits rigidly, facing the big galactic display board. Several aides and bureaucrats rush to and fro, ignoring the general. He is asleep. Captain Prue approaches the general and snaps to attention. The general's eyes open.
What are the results?
Negative, sir.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
It's just not possible. Something that size can't just disappear without a trace. Check it again.
That's the 10th negative, sir.
I said check it again.
Captain Prue retreats to a computer station. The general looks around for Starkiller.
Starkiller!
Everyone near the general turns, but Starkiller doesn't show.
Where is that boy? Montross!
Montross rushes to the general and snaps to attention.
Page Starkiller.
Montross goes back to his station, and a few minutes later, Starkiller is paged over the PA system. The general waits, watching the big board. Eventually, Starkiller stumbles out of an enclosed computer closet, fastening his pants and tucking in his tunic. A moment later, the cute female aide rather sheepishly exits the computer closet. She is also in the process of putting her uniform back together. Starkiller rushes up to the general and snaps to attention. The general lets him stand there for a moment, not acknowledging his presence. Then, suddenly, without warning and in one masterful, fluid flash motion, the general stands, grabs a small baton attached to his belt, which immediately ignites into a 4-foot glowing laser sword, and swings at the young warrior's head. In an equally quick movement, Starkiller ignites his laser sword and blocks the general's blow. Grinning, they lower their swords and turn them off.
You are trained well, but remember, a Jedi must be single-minded, a discipline your father obviously never learned, hence your existence. Clean yourself up. Discipline is essential. Your mind must follow the way of the Bendu.
It won't happen again, sir. There are many new...
General Skywalker, White Com.
The general moves to a control station and picks up a phone.
Sir, Captain Whitsun has just been admitted to medvac.
What's his condition?
No data, sir.
I'm on my way.
Medvac emergency room, underground fortress. Captain Starkiller waits in an outer chamber as General Skywalker rushes into the medvac emergency room, where several doctors are working on the prostrate Whitsun.
What's his condition? Is he conscious?
Partially. He'll be all right. A few bruises, primarily exhaustion.
Whitsun thrashes around in a semi-conscious state. He sees the general.
What happened, boy? What's going on?
The Imperial Star Force is already on its way, not far behind me. They're going to attack.
Are you sure?
I have tapes. A giant space fortress.
He struggles to give General Skywalker his ring.
As big as our third moon?
Bigger. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Sophisticated deflection systems work in opposition to the sun's.
They will show up on our screens at sunrise. They'll attack before that.
The general rushes into the outer chamber, where Captain Starkiller is waiting for him.
Take the fastest land speeder to Chathos. Pick up Princess Leia, and only Princess Leia. Return by way of the Great Reef, most speed.
Starkiller exits, and the general goes to an intercom and pushes several buttons.
Montrose.
Sir.
Full alert. Everything. Get the royal family back here.
The princess is at Chathos. There are no transports.
I've already sent Captain Starkiller for her. Contact the king, first priority. He's probably still en route to Amsel. Use the scancom. I'm on my way.
War room, underground fortress, Aquila. The war room is on full alert. Everyone is at attention, waiting for the command that will put them into action. The general enters a communication center, followed by many aides. General Montrose and the comm aide salute.
We are having a problem getting through, sir. There's a great deal of interference.
It could be jamming.
Try surface link through Amsel.
The aides go back to the comm link system to try to get a line through to the king.
We should be able to spot them at sunrise. That's not too far off.
They'll attack with sunrise. Until the king gives us that code to start the war, computers will just have to sit tight.
All units are on alert, sir.
Have you made contact yet? This is one hell of a way to run a war.
Sir?
Courtyard, Academy of Chathos, Aquila. A land speeder roars into a courtyard of the Academy at Chathos. Starkiller jumps out and runs up to the large, heavy doors of the Academy. They are locked. He bangs madly on the carved metallic door until finally an old woman manages to swing it open. Starkiller rushes past her into the main courtyard, where Princess Leia and her handmaiden, Mina, struggle with two large cases. They are followed by two very old matrons, dragging several more cases.
Forget the cases, we have no time.
These are my things. They must...
I said forget them and hurry.
Just who do you think you are?
Starkiller grabs the princess by the arm and hauls her off to the speeder. Mina and the old women run after them.
I will not be treated like this. You bring my things. My father will have your head.
Leia struggles to break away from the young warrior's grasp as he opens the door of the speeder.
Settle down.
When the door of the speeder is opened, Mina starts in and Starkiller stops her.
You must stay here. Here, take the crest.
Starkiller rips the royal crest from the princess's neck and hands it to the startled handmaiden. The old women gasp in horror. The princess starts hitting Starkiller with little result.
Mina's not staying. I'm not leaving her. You can't.
Starkiller punches her square in the jaw and knocks her cold. Mina is panic-stricken. One of the old women faints, and another starts for Starkiller with a large staff.
She'll be all right. I'm taking her to safety as ordered, and you will wear the crest and continue as before.
The authority of Starkiller's voice stops the old lady. He places the princess into the speeder and maneuvers it out of the courtyard. Mina puts on the crest as the speeder races away from the academy. War room, underground fortress, Aquila. Queen Breha, Biggs, and Windy are escorted into a rest area of the war room. General Skywalker sits rigidly in a chair in the communications area, apparently asleep.
Sir, we've made contact.
The general opens his eyes and takes the intercom mic.
What is... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead and repeat your line.
What is it, General?
The Empire will attack on the rising of the sun. My agent made it back. I now have proof. I need the war code.
I'll relay it directly to the computer. Is Breha?
The royal family is safe. Starkiller has gone after Princess Leia.
I'm on my way back.
Red Plains, Aquila. A bright object twinkling in the early morning heavens catches the eye of the older of two farmers, and he brings the machine to a lumbering halt. A younger farmer also notices the object and stares skyward, shading his eyes to get a better view. Suddenly, there's a huge, bright atomic flash on the horizon. A few moments later, a thunderous shaking, followed by high winds, tumbles the older farmer from his perch. A second flash on the opposite horizon brings another jolting earthquake, and the younger farmer also collapses, terror frozen on his face. Attack runaway, spaceport outpost, Aquila. 12 pilots and navigators dash in unison to a line of waiting two-man starships of the destroyer class. Ground crews scurry back and forth, loading last-minute armaments and unlocking power couplings. Pilot leader, a rugged, handsome boy of 20, gives his ground crew a signal that his ship is okay. He has a winning smile and a distinctive scar along the side of his face. His crew chief pats him on the back.
Knock them all the way back to Alderaan.
The canopy is closed, and the powerful starship moves onto the runway. Other crewmen say goodbye to their pilots, some grim, some kidding, all with a great deal of hidden emotion. The din of 24 retro rockets cuts through the uproar, and 6 silver spacecraft leave the runway and disappear into the morning cloud cover. War room, underground fortress, Aquila. General Skywalker stands before a giant display of the Aquileian solar system. Mantra signals the general.
They're away, sir. 6 from Gordon. All other spaceports were hit. The king hasn't arrived yet.
Keep checking. Put those fighters intercom over the PA.
The general sits at one of the intercom panels and puts on a headphone. A row of monitors is before him. He turns to Montrose.
Where are they?
Space. Aquila in eclipse. The eerie reddish-yellow planet of Aquila slowly drifts into view from total eclipse. A small bright speck orbiting the planet sparkles in the light of the twin suns. The 6 deadly Aquileian starships settle ominously into the foreground, moving swiftly toward the orbiting speck. As the sleek starships move closer, the orbiting speck is revealed to be a gargantuan space fortress. The moon-sized satellite fortress dwarfs the approaching fighters. Aquileian starship, interior. Pilot leader in the first ship signals to his navigator, who sits in a small, isolated glass bubble to the rear of the craft. General Skywalker is seen on one of many monitors. A view of the space fortress is on another. The rest are filled with various computer readouts and displays. One of the other starships reports to pilot leader.
Look at the size of that thing. Hey, Bowman, I hope you remember to bring your pop gun, because I think we got us a big one this time.
Cut off, Devil 6. Stand by.
It looks like they're still using the basic quadristation configuration. Use the Ranger defense. Concentrate on breath ports and lock areas.
Affirmative, base. Copy and transmit. Devil 2, check your rotation plates.
Roger, boss. We're getting a threshold disturbance on Gyro 3.
Switch over, 5. Cover it. Devil Pack, generate a spread 6 formation. May the force of others protect you.
Settle in, Devil Pack. Stand by. Mark 5, break off. Here we go. God save us all.
Space. Aquileian starship. Fuel pods are jettisoned. The half-dozen fighters break off into a power line attack on the huge fortress. Multiple laser bolts streak from the starships, creating small explosions on the complex surface of the fort. War room, underground fortress, Aquila. The monitors with pictures of from the starships suddenly go blank. Technicians check channels as others in the war room silently listen to the action over the intercom. The general remains calm but concerned.
Tighten it up, Devil 2. Tighten it up. Watch those towers.
Heavy fire, boss. 23 degrees.
I see it. Pull in. We're picking up some interference.
Wow, I've never seen such firepower.
Pull in, Devil 2. Pull in. Chewie!
I'm all right, boss. I've got a target.
There's too much action, Chewie. Get out.
Break off, Chewie. Acknowledge.
Devil 6, can you see Devil 2? I've lost them. There's a very heavy fire zone on this side. My radar's jammed.
He's gone. No, wait. There he is. Pin damage, but he's all right.
A sigh of relief sweeps across the war room. The monitors flash on, then off again.
Get back, boss! Watch your back!
Aqualian starship. The speedy little fighters dart back and forth across the soft underbelly of the fortress, leaving a trail of destruction behind them.
Converge on south axis point. Point 394. It appears accessible. I'm gonna map the surface. Devil 4, cover me.
Pilot Leader and Devil 4 dive in unison through a forest of radar domes, antennae, and gun towers. Devil 4 fires into the protrusions as the two starships crisscross the surface of the fortress. Suddenly, a dense barrage of laser fire erupts from a tower, catching Devil 4 broadside. The spacecraft bursts into a million flaming pieces. Pilot Leader reacts to the loss of his wingman, but continues on his mission. Sub-hallway, Imperial Space Fortress. Constant explosions rock the interior of the fortress. Civilians, including women and children, scurry for safety in the panic-ridden hallways. Two construction robots, R2-D2 and C-3PO, are blown past, slipping and sliding across the hallway floor into some freight canisters. Both robots are rather old and battered. R2 is a short, 3-foot, claw-armed tripod. His face is a mass of computer lights surrounding a radar eye. Threepio is a tall, gleaming android of human proportions. He is thin, with a totally metallic surface of an Art Deco design. The robots attempt to get out from under the canisters, but rushing gas from a broken pipe keeps knocking them over.
This is madness. We're going to be destroyed. I'm still not accustomed to space travel.
The external bombardment does appear to be concentrated in this area. The structure has exceeded the normal stress quotient by 0.4, although there appears to be no immediate danger.
No immediate danger? You're faulty. This is madness.
R2 gives Threepio a sheepish look and clings to a side rail for dear life as debris flies through the hallway. Aqualian starship. Devil 2, Chewie, a young hotshot of about 16 years, miraculously dives his ship through a virtual wall of laser fire and blasts a huge radar disk into dust. Chewie signals his navigator, who lets out a whooping cheer as the craft veers into a victory roll.
Great moves, Chewie. Regroup at point 201. Coincide, Devil 6.
Mace, your map projection shows a weak point at South Portal, 9.6. Concentrate the attack on that point. Coordinate.
I see it. It looks good.
Devil 5 and Devil 3 bob and weave in formation toward a giant transformer jutting from the fort's surface.
I've got it. We're hit. We're hit.
Eject. Eject. Babs. Babs, do you read?
I'm okay. I can hold it. Clear me a little. Devil 5, watch it. Watch it.
Devil 3 wobbles a little, then drops away sharply, plowing into a laser gun emplacement, causing a hideous series of chain reaction explosions. Sub-hallway, Imperial Space Fortress. A huge explosion rips a large hole in the ceiling of a sub-hallway. R2 and 3PO are in a state of shock as they scramble through the rubble. There is a constant sound of creaking and snapping as the sections of the hallway resettle in the fortress superstructure.
You're a mindless, useless philosopher. Come on, let's go back to work. The system is all right.
You overweight glob of grease. Quit following me. Get away, get away.
Suddenly, the hallway lurches and a dead trooper falls through a gaping hole in the ceiling. The foot of the carcass is caught in the rubble and it hangs upside down, staring at the two robots. R2 grabs 3PO and they cling to each other in terror.
We're lost. We're destroyed.
3 sharp blasts from an air horn send the two androids running for cover in a burned out hallway. 5 grim-faced troopers riding small rocket platforms pass the two mechanical men. Governor's quarters, Imperial Space Fortress. The 5 troopers race through several hallways and finally stop in front of an important-looking office complex. Seated behind a large, cluttered desk surrounded by generals and attaché is Governor Hoedaack. General Vader paces in front of a row of blank monitors. The two officers salute General Vader.
All comlink power is out. 22 transformer sections have been destroyed. The situation is grave on all southern levels. Comlink communication should be repaired shortly.
The officers salute, turn, and leave the chamber. The general turns to Governor Hoedaack, who looks a little worried.
Don't look so worried. Not even a Jedi could penetrate this fortress. We've already wiped out most of their forces.
If it goes too long, we'll run over budget. When do the landings begin?
As soon as the attack has been broken, not too long.
A short, stocky attaché salutes the general.
Contamination has set in on quadrants B5 and R4. All sections are sealed. We've lost 2 major power stations in southern quadrants. That puts section 5-1 in serious trouble.
General Vader turns away in controlled anger and embarrassment. War room, underground fortress, Aquila. General Skywalker sits in a glass-enclosed computer station watching the battle progress on several monitors. An officer enters and salutes the general.
Analysis reports of those ZQ configurations are definitely power transformers. Everything in the southern sectors of the fortress is out.
I'm surprised they're still using external power units. It's a definite weak point. Concentrate on searching for the main crosslink transformer.
The officer exits as Montross rushes in.
The Senate has voted to end the war.
They can't do anything without the king's approval, which gives us a little time. Have you been able to regain contact with the king?
No, sir. All ground communications are jammed.
Send 4 men from 3rd Squad to meet the king and escort him back. Let me know before he arrives. Is Starkiller back with the princess?
No, sir. They're long overdue.
Pilot leader checks in over the intercom.
All right, Base 1, we're in position.
An officer with headphones looks to the general. He signals to attack. Aquilean starships. All 4 starships dive in formation toward a main transformer area, flanked by several solar towers.
Hold your fire until we're within .054. Make it count.
Several Ak lasers begin to open fire on the approaching spacecraft. One of the starships, Devil 5, explodes and careens out of formation, leaving an erratic trail of smoke before eventually crashing into a solar panel. Sub-hallways, Imperial Space Fortress. The impact of the exploding starship can be felt throughout the giant fortress. The tall, gleaming Threepio races through several corridors, yelling at Artwo, who struggles vainly to keep pace with his stubby, mechanical feet.
I don't care what you do, but I'm getting out. All the power's out. These explosions are coming from the reactor section. This is the end. Abandon ship.
We can't leave. It's desertion. It's not possible. It's not possible.
Your programming is so limited. My first order is preservation. You stay. I'm going to eject before the whole thing goes up.
Threepio breaks open the seal on an emergency life pod. A red warning light begins to flash, and a low hum is heard. The lanky chrome android works his way into the cramped 4-man craft.
These life pods aren't for us. It's not right.
A new explosion, this time very close, sends dust and debris through the narrow passageway. Flames lick at the 2 robots. The runt-sized R2 jumps into the life pod.
It's the end. Eject! Eject!
The safety door snaps shut, and the pod ejects from the fortress. Aquilean starships. The terrified androids in the life pod speed away from the fortress, passing the attacking starships.
Object approaching, attack bearing.
It's a life pod. Forget it. We've got.
Devil 4 is hit by laser fire, and it disintegrates, leaving a trail of flaming projectiles. The 2 remaining craft continue the assault. Chewie and pilot leader watch the remains of Devil 4 disappear. General Skywalker appears over one of the monitors.
Analysis indicates transformer code 03 is the main relay. Hit it and the whole thing goes dead.
We're on our way.
Governor's quarters, Imperial Space Fortress. A row of monitors and the main overhead lights go on, and a trooper appears on one of the screens.
Internal relays operative, all power restored, all contaminated areas sealed.
An officer appears on another monitor.
Only 2 enemy craft remain operative. We calculate victory by 0300.
General Vader switches to another monitor.
Alert the invasion forces. The planet is ours, a 3-hour war. You expected longer? Jedi or not, we've beaten him and the culture is intact.
Truly great prize for the Empire. They have a treasure of biotic science, genetics, cloning, and they've added 200 years to the lifespan. Remember, you must capture at least one member of the royal family alive. Aquile family has ruled this system for 10,000 years. The people will follow no other. If the royal line is broken, there's a good chance the entire population will destroy themselves and their knowledge before submitting to our rule.
The general is interrupted by a call on one of the monitors.
We've received a message from the planet.
War room, underground fortress, Aquile. General Skywalker watches a giant computer display of the space fortress mapped by the starships. An aide approaches.
Sir, the king's convoy was destroyed at Calden. All the bodies were contaminated.
I will speak with the Queen. Who knows of this?
Many. It came through civilian sources.
Confine Senator Sandage to his quarters. Use any pretext. Where is the senator now?
Sandage and several other senators enter the computer station.
Right here, General. It's over. We've already relayed peace terms to the Empire, and they've been accepted. Your war has ended.
The general is angry and stands pointing at the senators. They jump back as if the general were pointing a gun at them.
Senator, this war isn't over. It's just begun. I take my commands from the royal family.
The Queen concurs. I have a written decree. It is to be implemented immediately. I order you to cease the attack.
Not likely.
Treason? Revolution? The people won't follow you, General, nor will your troops. I suggest you follow your orders.
General Skywalker stands angrily pondering the situation. Sandage and the other senators are tense, a little afraid that he might cut them down on the spot.
Well, General?
Life pod, sky over Aquile. The reddish-yellow mass of Aquile seems to engulf the tiny life pod containing the two fleeing androids.
It's desertion. They'll destroy us. How could this happen?
That's funny. The damage doesn't look as bad from out here.
Aquilean starships. Pilot Leader and Devil 2 make a second dive on the now smoldering transformer area. All firing from the fortress suddenly stops. Pilot Leader looks back to his navigator, who is equally puzzled. The two fighters continue to attack the now silent fortress.
I don't get it. What do you think, boss?
General Skywalker appears on the monitors.
Base 1 to Devil Leader. Scramble code 9er. Break your attack and return to base. Repeat, break your attack. Confirm.
They're hurt, sir, but they still have power. We should finish.
Break off. The war is over. Run on white lights. Get back here, Mace. We're going to need you.
Confirmed. Base 1. We're on our way. Did you copy, Chewie?
Roger, boss.
The two starfighters break off the attack and start back toward the planet. Without warning, the fort directs concentrated fire at the two starfighters. Devil 2 instantly bursts into flames, then disintegrates. Pilot Leader's tail section is hit, and the ship pinwheels toward the planet. Blood covers Pilot Leader's immobile face.
We're under fire. They're still shooting. I thought it was over. We're hit. We're hit. Pilot is dead. Ejecting.
The dead Pilot Leader is jettisoned free of the craft, but the navigator's eject panel is dead. He struggles with it, then bangs on the canopy to no avail. The navigator is still trapped in the craft when it explodes, leaving only a puff of pink smoke reflected in the rim light of the planet. War room, underground fortress, Aquile. General Skywalker sits alone, meditating in the deserted war room. Montross approaches the contemplative general.
No sign of Starkiller or the princess. There was much damage in the area. The queen will see you at 1000.
The general doesn't reply. Assembly, departure area, Imperial Space Fortress. General Vader stands behind a row of men at computer control panels. A commander reports to the general.
All enemy craft destroyed. 1st and 5th divisions, troops and equipment standing by.
Vader gives a sly smile of approval and takes a microphone from one of the computer technicians. He speaks to the troops and pilots waiting in their huge war machines for the invasion order.
The war is won. With the conquering of this system, we have ushered in a new millennium for the Empire, which will echo throughout the universe. Our reward is knowledge this system possesses. This planet must be controlled with a minimum of force, but we must not think lightly of this enemy. They have exacted a heavy toll. Today, you will make the Empire complete. Do so with pride and care.
Vader puts down the mic and turns to his commander.
Let the invasion begin.
Edge of the Dune Sea, Aquile. Jundland, or No Man's Land, where the rugged desert mesas meet the foreboding Dune Sea. The two helpless asteroid robots kick up clouds of dust as they clumsily work their way across the desert coastline. The short Artwo struggles desperately to keep up with the long-legged Threepio.
Not possible. We're not built for this. You're nothing more than a dim-witted, emotion-brained intellectual. Why you were created is beyond my logic systems. Thanks to you, we're deserters, and we'll probably be destroyed on sight. And on top of that, you're going the wrong way. All this filth is getting...
The towering Threepio stops short and turns on the blabbering mechanical runt.
I've had enough of you, you pragmatic, nearsighted scrap pile. You go your own way.
He picks up the tiny robot and tosses him several feet into a large sand dune. Threepio starts off in the direction of the Dune Sea. Artwo struggles to his feet and shakes a metallic claw arm at his disappearing ex-partner.
You'll be malfunctioning within a day. You're going the wrong way, but your way is always the wrong way.
Threepio stops and yells to the smaller android.
Don't let me catch you following me, begging for help, because you won't get it from me.
Artwo's reply is a rather rude sound, which only an electronic person could make. He turns and trudges off in the opposite direction into the rocky desert mesas. Dune Sea, Aquile. Threepio, hot and tired, struggles up over the ridge of a dune, only to find more dunes, which seem to go on for endless miles. He looks back in the direction he came.
You little malfunctioning twerp! This is all your fault! You tricked me into going this way, but you'll do no better.
He sits in a huff of anger and frustration, knocking the sand from his joints. Desert Mesa, Aquile. Artwo stumbles through a narrow canyon until he climbs over a small boulder and sees before him a sight he first thinks is a mirage. Nestled in a rock formation is a deserted land speeder. Once the little robot is convinced that he is alone, he approaches the battered speeder and begins to analyze it. He climbs into the pilot's seat and attempts to start the unfamiliar transport. He hears a sound and stops for a moment. He sees nothing, so he continues to fiddle with the control panel until the speeder lurches forward with a start, banging into a large rock. The stubby android is shaken, but neither he nor the speeder seems to be damaged.
Where is your master?
The little robot clicks and rattles, but doesn't speak.
Beep, beep.
Can't you speak? How do you relate your data? You're of Corellian manufacture. You should be able to talk. Are you damaged?
Starkiller pokes at the machine, but doesn't see any damage. Artwo eyes him suspiciously. The robot turns with a start and discovers a young girl, Princess Leia, has been standing next to him for some time.
Well, General, who's your friend?
I don't know. He doesn't seem to be able to talk. Damaged, probably jettisoned from a damaged ship.
What do you intend to do with it?
We'll take it with us. Could be a storehouse of valuable information.
Starkiller guides the android into the small luggage area behind the front seat, then hops into the driver's seat.
I don't want to ride with that thing. I order you to destroy it immediately.
Get in. We've got to hurry if we're going to get you to get you across the dune hedge by nightfall. You're coming one way or another, so will you join us peaceably?
The princess, reluctantly, gets into the speeder, and it starts with a jolt. Land speeder, desert mesas, Aquile. The speeder flies along a foot or so above the landscape.
You are such a barbarian. I'll have my father cut you into little pieces when we get back. Oh, and I'll take pleasure in feeding you to the Gonthas. Just a little bit each day. I may save your eyes, though. I'll have them petrified and made into a necklace.
Your sweetness is only surpassed by your beauty. Just try to remember I'm only following orders.
To beat and abuse me?
I'm afraid I've only learned one way to treat wild animals.
Artwo thrashes about, trying to relieve the pressure on his crumpled legs.
You stay out of this.
Dune C. Threepio struggles to the top of a large dune. He is dirty and hot. His plight seems hopeless. He searches the horizon for any sign of life. A glint of reflected light in the distance reveals an object speeding toward him. The chrome android waves frantically and yells at the approaching speeder. The sleek land speeder races past him about 100 yards away. He runs after it, screaming in desperation, until he stumbles and falls head over heels down an enormous sand dune. Silently, the speeder sweeps around in a circle and stops behind the immobile robot. Starkiller jumps out of the land speeder and is quickly followed by Artwo.
We're in a hurry, remember? If you're going to stop for every unfortunate along the way, we'll never get back. We're lucky you got the speeder running as it is.
Artwo waddles up to his fallen partner and starts pulling on his leg, then runs uphill on the dune and starts pulling on his arm.
Function, it's me, come on, function.
Oh, my little friend, you found your tongue.
We must help him. We've been lost.
Where'd you come from?
The little robot runs around his fallen partner, giving him small electric charges from his claw hand. Threepio shudders from head to toe, then regains consciousness.
What happened?
You're overheated.
Where did you come from?
We were jettisoned from 629 PR1.
I am unfamiliar with that ship. What type is it?
It's a Class M station, not a conventional craft.
Threepio then stands and shakes the young Jedi's hand.
I'm C-3PO, human-cyborg relations. Your kindness is greatly appreciated.
Starkiller and the two robots walk back to the speeder. Land speeder, Desert Canyon, Aquile. Both R2 and Threepio are stuffed into the tiny luggage compartment. It is late in the day when the speeder rumbles to a stop in a small desert canyon surrounded by steep cliffs and broken boulders.
We'll rest here.
At last, the transport is welcome, but my joints are frozen.
Everyone climbs out of the low-slung speeder. Starkiller watches the two androids as they stretch their mechanical limbs.
I've got a bad case of dust contamination. I can barely move.
What a forsaken place this is. We seem to be made to suffer. This is a lot in life. Sir, can you tell?
Threepio turns around and notices that Starkiller and the princess have disappeared. He looks all around.
Where did they go? They've disappeared.
Maybe they were attacked. I sense danger.
Hidden fortress entrance, Desert Canyon, Aquile. Captain Starkiller and Princess Leia hurry through a maze of large boulders until they reach a sheer rock face. Starkiller looks around to see if they were followed. Suddenly, a large section of the rock slides away, revealing a well-lit corridor carved out of the rock. They enter, and the secret rock door silently slides closed. Main hallway, underground fortress, Aquile. Starkiller and the princess are greeted by General Skywalker and Montross. They bow before the princess.
General, I want you to do something with this barbarian. Where's my father?
The king is dead, Your Highness.
All anger suddenly drains from the princess. She almost timidly asks the next question.
My mother? My brothers?
She's here. She's safe. So are your brothers. They're in the main chamber.
Leia, now looking more like a frightened young girl than a vindictive princess, runs down the hallway toward the main chamber. She vainly attempts to hold back the tears. Desert Canyon, Aquile. The two puzzled androids sit on the land speeder, pondering the disappearance of their savior.
Do you suppose we're in danger?
Logic of this environment escapes me.
As night begins to fall and the shadows begin to lengthen, the two robots begin to get a little edgy. The sound of approaching feet startles R2, and he ducks behind his taller friend. Two guards approach the robots.
You will remain calm, and you will remain here.
Certainly, I see C-3PO, human-cyborg relations. Your kindness is greatly appreciated.
R2 sits rather suspiciously behind his extroverted friend. Royal Chamber, Underground Fortress, Aquile. General Skywalker bows low before Princess Leia. She sits on a raised platform, dressed in the royal robes of a planetary ruler. The Queen sits off to one side on a smaller platform. The princess waits for a few moments before she allows the general to rise.
The Senate has been corrupted.
I cannot rule without your wish.
I rule by marriage. With the king dead, I am not strong enough to stop them. Leia is now the true queen. She must be protected. The line must be preserved. I am placing the future of our people in your hands. You must deliver Leia and her brothers to the Hoedaack system. They will be safe there. General, you must understand. I had no alternative but to condone an end to the hostilities. I deeply believe your companion could have been successful, but there are things that...
Understand, yes.
The Chrome companies on Opuchi have offered to supply you with the men and ships necessary to return Leia to the throne.
Chrome companies be trusted.
The price for their cooperation is high. It is waiting for you in the Med Center Blue. Guard it as you would the princess herself. No one must know of this mission. There are those among the trusted who would wish us ill. Take only 2 of your best officers with you, the most loyal. May the force of others be with you.
Mother, you must not stay.
I am too old for such a journey. The Empire already controls the spaceport cities. You have a long way to travel. It won't be easy.
We will have to travel in disguise. I must have full command. No one can suspect wealth or royal training. I fear the new queen will not stand for this.
Do not put words in my mouth. I will stand for what is necessary.
The general simply smiles. Sub-hallway, underground fortress, Aquila. The general walks briskly through an isolated hallway, closely followed by Montrose.
How is Captain Whitsun's recovery?
Very good. He's up and around.
Fine. Have Whitsun and Starkiller report at 0300. I want 2 converted transports, agricultural type, 2 days provisions, travel papers, weapons. Contact Han Solo at the Gordon spaceport. I'll talk to him. With speed.
Montrose turns and rushes down another hallway. Medical Center, Blue, underground fortress, Aquila. General Skywalker enters a stark white waiting area filled with scholarly-looking gentlemen. An attendant greets General Skywalker and takes him into a small observation chamber overlooking a large operating theater. An elderly doctor greets him.
Good to see you, General. I'm afraid we're not quite ready yet. Thank God you'll be the one taking them, though.
How many are going?
33 of the greatest scientific minds in our system. A high price for freedom.
33 scientists. Transporting a group that size undetected,
Don't worry, General. You'll only be taking their minds.
In the background, the scholar on the operating table is undergoing a form of mechanized brain surgery.
Bloodry's distillation?
Yes, it has been greatly perfected. The brain is condensed into 5 ounces of fluid. Cloning cell samples are included so that the structural duplicate of the scientist can be reproduced when the duplicate child reaches the age of 6, or they begin a series of injections of the brain fluid. By the age of 10 years, they have received all the knowledge and memory of an experienced scientist, an old mind in a young body. We've prepared a special shock belt to carry the vials.
In the background, the limp body of the scholar on the operating table is removed, and another scientist is escorted into the operating theater. Dr. Bludder, a portly doctor in his 40s, enters the room and shakes hands with the general.
General, this is Dr. Blottery. He will be making the trip with you.
It's an honor to meet you, General. I'm sure I couldn't be in safer hands.
The Chrome companies are exacting a high price indeed. Politics will be the ruin of us all.
Careful. If we could rid ourselves of the politicians, generals would no longer be necessary.
We should be ready by 0300.
The doctors exit, leaving the general alone to watch the huge machine extract another brain. Spaceport, observation deck, Aquila. Governor Hoedaack and General Vader walk down a boarding ramp to an observation deck overlooking the conquered city of Gordon. They are followed by a number of aides and officers from the Imperial fleet. Below them, air tanks and other military equipment and supplies are being unloaded.
Not much of a planet.
Darth, you've done well. Do you think you'll have the royal family by nightfall?
An advance expedition is already on its way to the underground hideaway. It should reach them by nightfall, but only if this Count Sandage can be trusted.
A man hungry for power can always be trusted to betray those in power. I'm sure his information is correct.
Hidden Fortress Canyon. The huge rock face of the canyon opens, and two shabby agricultural land speeders are pushed into the late afternoon sun. Artwo and Threepio stand on the far side of the canyon with their guards watching in amazement. General Skywalker and Captain Starkiller walk behind the men pushing the land speeders.
We'll take them with us. They know more about that fortress than any 10 men. They will be very useful.
Can they be trusted?
Loyalty can't be programmed. They can be trusted never to harm a living creature and to always give accurate information, as they know it, to anyone who asks. You just have to remember not to tell them anything that you don't want to fall into the wrong hands.
The general approaches the two robots. R2 shyly moves around behind his taller companion.
Greetings. I'm Luke, agricultural engineering. We're going to be traveling together. You're going with us to help set up a horse station on Bath.
Threepio shakes hands with the general.
C-3PO, human-cyborg relations, your kindness is greatly appreciated.
Threepio and the general both look down at R2. Threepio gives the smaller android a little kick.
R2-D2, fusion repair.
Load them into one of the speeders.
Captain Whitsun, walking with a slight limp, emerges from the underground fortress with the royal family. A small group of guards and aides are lined up, standing at attention. The two young princes, Biggs and Windy, hug and kiss their mother goodbye, then jump into the back of the larger four-man speeder. The princess bows before her mother, then embraces her. Tears roll down her cheeks. Her mother wipes them away.
You must learn strength.
The princess turns and moves to the larger speeder, where she is helped aboard by Captain Starkiller.
I don't need your help, thank you.
She gives the general an angry look.
I'm afraid he's necessary.
A commotion erupts at the mouth of the underground fortress. Count Sandage, several senators, and 10 to 12 troopers rush into the canyon and block the speeders.
Where are you going? What is this?
In one quick movement, the general moves between Sandage and the queen. Whitsun and Starkiller assume defensive positions in front of the princess and her brothers.
Leia and the boys are being taken to safety. It is my wish.
The Empire has assured their safety. They must stay.
It is not my wish.
General, you've gone too far this time. Arrest him.
5 troops start to move on the general as Sandage draws his laser pistol. Before anyone can complete their actions, the general ignites his laser sword and cuts the senator in 2. The body drops to the ground in a heap, and the approaching troops stop in their tracks.
Stop this!
Skywalker, Starkiller, and Whitsun replace their swords and bow low to the queen. All of the troops, senators, and aides do the same. The formalness of the occasion is broken when the queen embraces the general. She then turns and embraces each of the captains. They are both flustered and somewhat embarrassed.
May the force of others be with you.
The general and his captains head for the speeders, while the queen and all the others return to the underground fortress. Desert Bluff, Aquile. The 2 speeders edge their way onto a bluff overlooking the hidden fortress canyon. They stop for one last reflective moment. Forced to leave their closest friends and relatives, the group is deeply moved. The 2 robots, for the most part, are puzzled. Suddenly, there's a huge atomic flash, followed by a loud rumble, and the entire canyon collapses into a large crater. The group quietly watches the dust settle. The hidden fortress and all its inhabitants have been destroyed. The general watches the princess, who appears to take it well.
It was the only way we could be safe from treachery.
Dune Sea, Aquile. The 2 land speeders glide effortlessly through the vast hills and valleys of the Dune Sea. Captain Starkiller stops the speeder just short of the top of a ridge. He gets out and continues the rest of the way on foot. The young captain peeks over the dune ridge into the canyon below.
Sir, you'd better take a look at this, but come easy.
Far in the distance, crossing the endless dune sea, is the Imperial Invasion Army. It is immense. A convoy of giant tanks, troop carriers, and supply ships stretch from horizon to horizon. Cavalry mounted on giant two-legged dune birds ride the line from one end of the convoy to the other. Hundreds of troops ride one-man jetpacks in precise formation. Their lances form a giant pincushion. It is an awesome sight.
They're heading toward the fortress.
What will they do when it find it destroyed?
They won't stop looking for us. They're coming from the spaceport at Anchorhead, which means they control everything between here and the spaceport at Gordon.
Can we go around them?
No, we'll have to wait for them to pass. Starkiller, see if you can monitor any of their communications on the comlink in the big speeder.
Starkiller returns to the speeder. He collapses in the large speeder next to the princess and flips on the comlink radio, moving back and forth across the dial.
Must you do that?
Orders. The invasion force has cut us off. We'll probably be here some time. You ought to stretch out a bit.
Is that a command, General? Maybe I feel like watching after my brothers.
Starkiller looks back at the two sleeping boys.
They're not going anywhere. They're asleep.
I want to stay with them.
What's the matter? You afraid I might eat them?
Library, Palace of Light, Aquila. The king's old library has been converted into an office for General Vader. He is sitting behind his desk as Prince Valorum, the Black Knight of Sith, enters and salutes. The Black Knight is dressed in the fascist black and chrome uniform of the legendary Sith 100. The general returns his salute.
Welcome, Prince Valorum. Your exploits are legendary. I've long waited to meet a Knight of the Sith. If there's any way I can assist you, my entire command is at your bidding.
I want to tie into your computer network, a control center, and communication access.
Right away. I'll also transfer all information we have on the general. His command post was self-destroyed, but we believe he is still alive. Do you really believe he's a Jedi?
If he were not a Jedi, would I be here?
Wasteland, Aquila. The speeders make their way across the gray desert. It is dawn. The twin suns have yet to rise over the distant hills. The speeders are coated with dust and grime, indicating that they have traveled far. The two captains drive through the night as everyone else sleeps. Starkiller calls Whitsun on the intercom.
How are your fuel packs? I'm reading -4.
You were muted, actually.
I'm too low to transfer any.
The general, who appeared to be asleep, opens his eyes and takes the microphone from Whitsun.
There's a fuel station 14 degrees by 2 meters. Patient 4 should have control of it by now, so hide your weapons, but keep them within reach.
Interior, fuel station, Aquila. The two young captains, Whitsun and Starkiller, dressed as farmers, enter a dingy little fuel station. It is quiet. A few power packs line the walls, and a dismantled speeder rests in the repair bay. There is a sharp dripping sound coming from the speeder. It appears that no one is there.
Greetings! Who's in charge here?
They look around the deserted station, but find no attendant. An eerie quiet pervades the building.
I don't get it.
You don't have to. It's abandoned.
Whitsun opens a door leading to a storage area and stops short.
Not quite abandoned.
Starkiller moves to the doorway and sees the attendant, his wife, and small daughter hanging upside down, tortured to death. Whitsun cuts them down.
They shouldn't have resisted.
Starkiller grabs 2 power packs from the shelf.
Help me with these power packs. We'd better move out of here.
Whitsun covers the family with an old work tarp. He bows to the dead, then reluctantly grabs a couple of power packs, and they start for the door. Whitsun stops for a moment.
Hear that? Someone's here. We're friends. Show yourself.
Silence. Whitsun shrugs his shoulders, and they start out the door, only to run straight into a burly stormtrooper.
Get out of here.
Fuel station, Aquile. Whitsun and Starkiller are pulled out of the doorway and shoved into the center of a group of 15 or 20 Imperial stormtroopers who have surrounded the two speeders. Several troops have pulled General Skywalker out of the speeder. He acts senile, like a man twice his age.
I'm all right. I can still move about by myself.
A rough-looking sergeant grabs Whitsun.
What are you doing here?
We're out of power, sir.
Let me see your travel passes.
I have it here somewhere. We've been relocated to a Bantha Horta station by your Imperial order.
Whitsun fumbles to retrieve something from his pocket and eventually pulls out a small round disc. The sergeant puts the disc in a small portable reader. Various computer readouts are displayed on the monitor. Starkiller starts to put a power pack into one of the speeders.
What are you doing there? All power has been restricted.
We've run out. We must have power or be forced to stay here and become your responsibilities.
The sergeant thinks about this for a moment as the old wise general watches him. Tension fills the air. Starkiller shuffles around to a position where he can reach his weapon. A trooper hands the sergeant a message.
Take only 2 of those power packs and then move out quickly.
Wasteland, Aquile. The speeders race along through the rocky desert wasteland. The general speaks into the intercom to Starkiller.
Keep a close watch. If that sergeant runs an analysis on those passes, we might be seeing him again. We should be safely inside Gordon within the day.
Everyone is in good spirits. The princess and her young brothers sing an Aquilean melody, which is transmitted to Starkiller on the smaller speeder. The general takes a little Windy and lets him sit in his lap in the forward compartment of the speeder. Artwo flexes Threepio's arm back and forth, attempting to discover the cause of a loud squeak.
Z2 doesn't seem to help at all.
It's all this filth and dust. This environment is murderous.
Starkiller notices a small speck on the horizon.
Object approaching, bearing 3.2.
The general looks through an electro-telescope mounted in the speeder. He spots a distant row of troopers riding strange dune birds.
It's a patrol. It could mean trouble. We better split up. You stay on direct course. We'll meet you at the western edge of Ravine 2364. Stay in contact.
The larger speeder makes a sharp left turn, speeding off across the deep ravine. Starkiller can begin to distinguish the approaching troopers.
It looks like there's 10 of them. They're heading right for me. Wait a second. They've disappeared. I've lost them.
Continue on.
Wasteland lake bed, Aquile. Whitsun deftly maneuvers the bulky speeder through a narrow, boulder-strewn ravine. They eventually come out on a dry lake bed where they stop. Standing not more than 100 feet away, apparently waiting for the speeder, are 5 Imperial troops on their dune birds.
We found them. 5 of them, anyway. Watch yourself.
The troops slowly ride their huge birds over to the speeder before dismounting. The officer in charge is a vicious-looking warrior with a large scar across his face.
Let me see your passes.
Whitsun hands him the small pass disc, and he places it in his reader. He studies the computer readout for a few moments and then returns the disc to Whitsun.
Have you seen any other transports in this area?
We saw 2 heading south, going towards Ansel, looked like to me.
All right, go on your way.
The officer mounts his dune bird and the patrol moves away. Whitsun winks at the princess and smiles at the general as the speeder starts off across the dry lake. The general fiddles with the intercom.
S2, are you clear?
I have 5 troopers approaching. Any problems on your end?
We came through all right. You shouldn't have any trouble, but stay alert.
Best wishes. Here they come.
Everyone rides along in silence, a little worried about Starkiller, especially the princess.
Do you think he'll be all right?
He can take care of himself.
Biggs is looking out the back window of the speeder.
Hey, look, they're coming back.
Everyone looks to see the patrol quickly gaining on them.
Stop. They're faster. Get your weapon.
The speeder screeches to a halt in a cloud of dust. Skywalker and Whitsun jump from the transport with laser pistols drawn. The patrol bears down on them, swords drawn at full charge. Both the general and Whitsun fire. 2 of the troopers and their dune birds explode in a cloud of smoke. The remaining 3 troopers are upon the duo in a matter of seconds. The general ignites his laser sword and cuts down 2 of the troops as they pass. The last turns his bird around before reaching the speeder and hightails it back toward the ravine. The general jumps onto one of the riderless dune birds and takes off in pursuit. Whitsun checks the dead troopers. Wasteland Ravine, Aquila. The general rides at breakneck speed after the fleeing trooper. His laser sword is raised high over his head, ready to deal a death blow. The lumbering birds race through the winding ravine. Wasteland Ravine, Aquila. The intercom warning buzzer begins to scream. Whitsun rushes for it, but the princess gets there first.
Are you all right?
2 riders heading your way. I got 3, but 2 got away. Watch yourselves.
Wasteland Ravine, Aquila. Skywalker reaches and kills the trooper, but 2 more appear. Suddenly, the 2 troopers start for the Jedi at full speed. The general raises his sword and starts for them. The troopers are no match for the general, who kills them both before they're even able to swing their swords. Wasteland Lakebed, Aquila. Starkiller stops near the larger land speeder and gets out. He is wounded. Blood streams from his left arm. Whitsun rushes to help him. The princess shows a great deal of concern.
It looks worse than it is. He'll be all right.
Whitsun motions to the princess, who looks a little relieved.
Bring me the med aid pick back.
He was clumsy enough to get hurt. Maybe we ought to let him bleed to death.
She hands Whitsun the kit as the general rides up and dismounts. He moves to Starkiller.
You missed 2.
I know. I couldn't.
Don't let it happen again. We'd better move out. They might have reported in.
Control room, Palace of Light, Aquila. The dark and sinister Valorum moves several markers on a large map readout to form a line from the destroyed underground fortress to the spaceport at Gordon. An aide enters with General Vader.
The patrol is lost, sir. All 10 of them.
It's to be expected.
Have you found them?
They're heading for the spaceport at Gordon. I'm going there. Have all security doubled. Make it an alert.
The outskirts of Gordon, Aquila. The speeders stop on a bluff overlooking a small cantina on the outskirts of Gordon. The spaceport can be seen in the distance. The general and Captain Whitsun walk over to the smaller speeder. Starkiller helps the 2 androids out of their cramped quarters.
Kindness is greatly appreciated.
I'm fit enough to.
The general gives him a hard look, and he shuts up. Whitsun and the general climb into the speeder.
We'll make contact at 0400. If we're not back by 5540, get worried.
The speeder starts off toward the cantina. Spaceport Cantina, Aquila. The speeder pulls up in front of the low blockhouse-style cantina. Various strange forms of transport are parked outside the bar.
Take care here. If there's any trouble, get back to the others.
The general and Whitsun enter the shabby cantina. The murky little den is filled with a startling array of weird and exotic alien creatures laughing at the bar. At first, the sight is horrifying. One-eyed, thousand-eyed, slimy, furry, scaling arms, tentacles, and claws huddled over drinks. The general looks over the patrons, but does not see the contact, Han Solo. A large multiple-eyed creature shoves the general. The general tries to ignore the creature and turns back to his drink. A short, grubby-looking human and an even smaller, rodent-like creature join the first creature.
He doesn't like you.
I understood him.
I don't like you either.
I'm sorry.
The big creature is getting agitated, and it yells at the general.
Don't insult us. You just watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
Well, I'll be careful then.
You'll be dead.
The short rodent yells something, and everything at the bar moves away. The general assumes a defensive position. His 3 adversaries ready their weapons.
You insist on a fight then?
Just try and kill us.
It will hurt a little.
We aren't cowards.
Well, then it can't be helped.
The general's laser sword sparks to life. An arm lies on the floor. The rodent is cut in 2. The large multiple-eyed creature lies doubled, cut from chin to groin. The general, with quiet dignity, replaces his sword in its sheath. Noticing someone off screen, the Jedi finishes his drink and then leaves. Captain Whitsun follows. Spaceport alleyway, Gordon, Aquila. General Skywalker embraces Han Solo, the underground contact. Han is a Jedi and a huge green-skinned monster with no nose and large gills.
You old star dog. Took a war to get you out here.
Whitsun arrives with Starkiller, the princess, and her brothers. and the two puzzled androids.
Been too long. We've been through much together. It will be good to have you out of retirement and back at my side. How is Starkiller? This is his son.
You're all the old boy will talk about. He's still holding up. Come, let's get off the street.
Slum dwelling, living area, Aquila. The seedy dwelling is dark and dingy. The group is greeted by 3 underground leaders and the old Jedi, Kane, Starkiller. Captain Starkiller embraces his father as the underground leaders bow before the princess. Slum dwelling, dining area, Aquila. The princess walks through the dining area, followed by Whitsun and Starkiller, who carry the 2 sleeping princes. The general sits at a large table finishing dinner with Han, Kane, and the 3 underground leaders. Whitsun returns from the bedroom.
Captain, why don't you take the androids into the other room for a game of chess? I'm sure they'd enjoy it.
A wonderful idea. Your kindness is greatly appreciated.
Whitsun escorts the 2 robots into the next room. Datos, a thin, wizened old man, seems greatly relieved.
You're taking a great risk traveling with them. This whole operation sounds bad to me. I don't trust the Chrome companies. Time is growing short. The Empire's attempts at control have already caused a great deal of suffering to our people.
Oko, a brash young rebel, about the same age as Captain Starkiller, slams his fist on the table.
Not me. Not that I can see. No, it's Finn. Okay.
It must happen now. We are ready. Each day, the Imperial SBT finds and destroys a few more in the organization. We cannot wait any longer.
An uprising without a coordinated attack on the Death Star is out of the question.
He's right. As long as it's operational, any action down there would be meaningless. We must proceed as planned. Are the arrangements secure?
Quist, the 3rd member of the Underground, sparks to life and places several discs and badges on the table.
All passenger transport has been suspended, so we've arranged for you to travel as the crew of the Baltran freighter. The boys will have to be placed in suspended animation and hidden in shielded micropacks. It's the only way we'll be able to get them past the scanners.
Were you able to acquire the necessary power packs?
It's become a serious problem. All power supplies have been restricted. S4 units are impossible to come by.
I know an agent who might be able to acquire them for us. I'll check with him. It will be risky, but we have no other choice.
Slum dwelling, alleyway, Aquila. Residents glance fearfully from their windows as 6 Imperial stormtroopers make their way through the crowded slum alleyway. Han Solo and Captain Starkiller move cautiously past the Imperial patrol and disappear into the shabby hideout of the partisan underground. Slum dwelling, dining area, Aquila. General Skywalker, Captain Whitsun, and Datos are in the process of assembling 2 micro packs on the kitchen table. Han pulls a small silver power pack from his pocket and places it on the table. The old Jedi, Kane Starkiller, reaches over with his one good arm and takes it. He inspects it carefully. Princess Leia sits quietly behind the general.
Could only get 1 unit. The Empire's methods are proving to be very effective.
Kane places the power pack back on the table. The pain from these simple movements shows on his face.
This will work fine.
One of the boys will have to stay.
We can't hide him for very long. The risk is too great. Whichever boy doesn't go must be destroyed.
The princess is alarmed and looks to the general for support. He gives her an understanding look.
Not while they're in my charge. Find another way to get him through.
There is no other way. We've analyzed every possible alternative. You can't jeopardize this entire...
Captain Starkiller enters the room.
We have no time for discussion. The freighters leave at 0300. We must get started.
Through a break in the door, Whitsun watches Artwo and Threepio play with the young princes.
What about R2? Could we lobotomize him and use his energy back?
They're not compatible. We'd have to completely change the system.
Good work.
There isn't enough time. You can't do it.
You won't have to. My power unit has more than half-life. Use it.
The withered Jedi opens his tunic, revealing a metallic chest covered with electrodes. With his one good arm, he grabs his chest and rips loose a miniature power unit similar to the one on the table. Everyone is taken by surprise. The general and the young Starkiller both rush to the side of the dying Jedi. The old man turns to his son.
Trust my judgment, son. Serve your new teacher well.
The Jedi's breathing becomes more difficult as he turns to the general.
Honorable death, my friend. May the force of others be with you.
Kane, Starkiller, passes on to the other world. Everyone is stunned. The general breaks the moment of silence.
May he be welcomed as a man above men. Take him downstairs.
Starkiller takes his father in his arms and is followed out of the room by Han and Datos.
Prepare the boys. We have little time.
Princess Leia and Captain Whitsun rush out of the room as the general places the power units in the micropacks. Slum dwelling, main area, Aquile. Biggs and Windy are not happy about being dragged away from their puzzle. Whitsun takes the robots into the sleep area.
Now straighten up, Biggs. Remember, Father expects you to follow his ways. We are going on a trip. There will be great danger, so you must go to sleep. When you wake, you will be in a strange land, so don't be alarmed.
Are you going to sleep too?
I'll be looking after you. Now be good boys and stand still. Lift your sleeve.
Windy lifts his sleeve, and Leia injects him with a sleep serum. Whitsun enters just as the little prince collapses into a deep sleep. Quick as lightning, he catches the boy before he can hit the floor. The princess injects her other brother, and he collapses into her arms. Slum dwelling, dining area, Aquile. The limp bodies of the two young princes are carried in by Leia and Captain Whitsun. They're carefully squeezed into the hollowed-out microcases. Leia pensively watches as the general expertly attaches electrodes to her brother's head. Han and Datos return from the burial of Kane. The general looks up from his operation.
He is at rest. The Empire will never find him. Are all the systems working all right?
Full power. Is everything ready?
Datos nods yes, as the general closes the case holding Biggs. The strain of watching her brothers placed in suspended animation is too great for Leia, and she retreats into the main room. Slum dwelling, main room, Aquile. Captain Starkiller stands brooding near a window overlooking the crowded alleyway. He does not acknowledge Leia's entrance. She walks over to the window and stands next to the young captain. They are very close, but do not touch.
I'm sorry.
He does not respond. She is moved by his sorrow and starts to touch the side of his face, but can't bring herself to do it. Her royal training is too strong to let her show her true affection for Starkiller. She breaks down and runs from the room. The young Jedi continues his meditation. Spaceport at Gordon, security ramp, Aquile. The Empire is in the process of changing the boarding procedures, and the result is chaos. Many flights are delayed, and people are running to and fro, switching boarding ramps. Han guides the rebel group, dressed as a Baltarian crew, through the crowded terminal. Whitsun and Starkiller carry the large micropacks strapped to their backs. The robots follow a few paces behind.
They're changing the boarding procedures. I don't like it.
They are swept into a boarding gate and finally reach a security ramp scan station. There are a great number of troops and guards standing around the security area. An officer demands to see their passes and orders.
Where are your component receipts?
Starkiller and Whitsun hand the officer 2 additional discs, which are placed on the computer. A few moments later, the readout appears and the group is motioned through the electron scanners. Starkiller moves next to the general.
I don't like the feel of this.
Your senses are strong. It's a very small disruption.
It's a night of the Sith.
Possibly. Stay alert. Warn the others.
Interior, Baltarian freighter, Aquile. The group stops in a narrow electronic passageway near the bridge of the ship. Starkiller and Whitsun unstrap the micropacks containing the 2 young princes and then check the voltage packs.
Little Biggs is losing power faster than normal. I better check it out.
Wait until the situation is secure. Stay here and keep on your guard. Han.
The 2 young captains grow suspicious of several workmen gathering around the main exit hatch. Han and the general enter the bridge area. Several crewmen sit at elaborate controls and computer stations.
Where's your captain?
One of the crewmen directs him to a small chamber above the bridge. Starkiller and Whitsun strap on their micropacks as more workmen converge at the main hatch and begin to close it. The two robots, Artwo and Threepio, are confused about what is going on, and they wear their gear in anticipation of moving. Pilot chamber, Beltarian freighter, Aquila. Han and the general enter the small pilot's chamber and greet the captain, whose face is hidden in the shadows of a computer bank.
Welcome, gentlemen. You must have had a difficult journey. We'll be departing shortly.
4 armed troopers silently enter the room behind the 2 old Jedi. Their laser swords are drawn.
I have been authorized to accept payment for the Chrome Company's cooperation. I assume you've brought it with you.
The captain moves out of the shadows and is revealed to be Valorum, first knight of the Sith. Instantly, both Han and the general understand the situation. They turn, drawing their laser swords in the move, and cut down the 4 Imperial troopers. The door to the chamber instantly seals shut. Valorum hasn't made any moves, and he remains unusually calm. The 2 Jedi turn to face him.
It's over, gentlemen. The chamber is sealed. Don't force me to release the gas.
A tone sounds, and the Black Knight turns to an intercom.
Situation secure. Prisoners taken to Hold B. 12 casualties. Gas is necessary.
Han and the general subside and drop their weapons. The door silently opens behind them, and 6 guards enter wearing face masks. They bind the 2 Jedi with chrome microcuffs. A satisfied smile creeps across Valorum's face. General Skywalker seems unimpressed with the knight's trap.
At last, it's ended. You take them to Hold G. I don't want them with the others. Prepare for departure.
The troopers escort Han and the general out of the chamber and down several hallways. Interior, Beltarian freighters, Aquila. 8 troops march Han and the general into the hold of the ship. They pass near the main exit, where R2 and Threepio stand deserted, looking lost. Threepio sees Skywalker pass in a nearby hallway.
Well, there he is. Come on.
The robots waddle off after the Jedi prisoners. As the small procession passes detention cell B, where the princess and the others are being held, Han and the general let out a horrifying Jedi battle cry and leap to the corridor ceiling, thrusting their bound wrists into the lighting fixtures. They land on top of the troops, instantly breaking the necks of 4 guards with expertly placed Jedi blows. The 8 surviving guards are momentarily dumbfounded. Han and the general grab laser swords from their victims and swiftly cut down the remaining troops. Han grabs a small card from one of the dead guards and starts for detention cell B.
Watch it. Those are cutters.
The general grabs one of the dead troopers and tosses the body against the cell door. Red rays engulf the body and hold it there. Han then places the card in a slot, and the door silently slides open. Starkiller and Whitsun leap for the dead guard, then notice the death ray surrounding him. General Skywalker grabs another body and throws it into the doorway.
Pass between them.
Starkiller squeezes between the slain guards and is untouched by the rays. Whitsun and the princess quickly follow, picking up weapons as they leave.
They've taken the cases.
Are they aware of the boys?
I don't think so.
Find them. Use your seeker. We'll meet you at the main hatch. Watch yourselves. If an alarm is given, they'll gas the entire ship.
Yes, sir.
Whitsun and Starkiller each take a small humming device from their utility belts and head down a narrow hallway. The general, Han, and the princess continue toward the main hatch. R2 and Threepio have been completely confused by this turn of events. They eventually follow the general toward the exit hatch. Electro Closet hallway, Beltarian freighter, Aquila. The 2 young captains reach a storage area of the huge spacecraft. They watch their seekers as they move along a row of electro closets. They quietly sneak past a group of workmen assembling a large gyro housing. A second row of micropacks is searched to no avail.
If they were discovered, they would have been sent to a medical station.
There are more storage areas on the far side.
Main hatch area, Beltarian freighter, Aquila. Han and the general reach the main hatch, closely followed by Leia and the 2 robots. Several lights over the hatch flash on and off. The general cuts a camera off the wall with his laser sword.
They're going to take off. It's too late.
Threepio, come over here.
Yes, sir. May I be of service?
Get this hatch open. Counterlock the departure pattern.
The robot immediately starts pushing buttons on the panel. Electro closet hallway, Beltarian freighter, Aquila. Starkiller and Whitsun reach a second series of electro closets. A signal appears on the seekers, and Starkiller cuts down the door of one of the small cabinets. Whitsun stands guard. Approaching troops are heard in the distance. Starkiller quickly rummages through the electro packs until he spots the familiar cases containing the 2 boys.
Troops,
Starkiller straps on one of the backpacks and hands the other to Whitsun as they duck into a narrow passageway. Bridge, Beltarian freighter, Aquile. As the crew makes the final preparations for the blast-off, the main hatch light blinks on. One of the pilots notices the light and begins to check it out.
Is the main hatch secure?
Main hatch, Beltarian freighter, Aquile. The intercom sparks to life and the general answers it.
Everything looks secure, but give me a minute to check it out.
All right, stand by.
The general gives a wink to Han as Threepio continues his attempt to override the hatch computer. Hallways, Beltarian freighter, Aquile. Starkiller and Whitsun all cautiously move down a long hallway, ever watchful of Imperial troops. They reach an intersection, carefully check in all directions, then rush down a main hallway. They're about halfway down the hallway when a squad of Imperial guards appears at the end of the hallway, facing them. The troops start toward the two captains with lowered laser rifles.
Here's where it gets tricky.
Starkiller, then Whitsun quickly and smoothly draw their laser pistols and fire at the troops. A giant explosion destroys the far end of the hallway. A few laser bolts are returned but streak harmlessly overhead and explode out of range. The exchange of gunfire lasts only a few moments. When the smoke clears, the troops have been destroyed. Main hatch, Beltarian freighter, Aquile. The main hatch slowly begins to slide open when the rumbling explosion of laser fire echoes through the hallways. Han looks to the general, and they both instantly realize what has happened. Han draws his weapons. The hatch is now fully open. Everyone stands silently, watching for the two captains. Alarm starts screaming through the ship, and the giant hatch slowly begins to close.
Come on, we can't wait.
Suddenly, Starkiller and Whitsun round a corner and head for the still closing hatch, battling several Imperial stormtroopers as they go. Han and the general move up to the hatch and give cover fire. Whitsun slips through the shrinking opening and yells to Starkiller to hurry. Many more troops bear down on the young Jedi as he squeezes through the very slim opening. One of the troops dives after him, but is caught and crushed by the emergency hatch. Boarding ramps, Gordon spacecraft, or spaceport, Aquile. The general leads the group through various corridors.
Once the alarm sounds, the entire spaceport will shut down.
They stop at a junction. At the far end of one hallway, several troops guard a restricted passageway.
That's the military section.
Fightercraft!
But it's very heavily guarded. We can't take it with subtlety.
Before the general can answer, the acute scream of the spaceport alarm reverberates through the corridors. The general, followed by his two young captains, charges toward the heavily guarded military passageway. Han, with the princess and two robots, follows a safe distance behind. A guard sees them coming and orders them to stop. Starkiller and the general fire their laser pistols at the passageway entrance, and the troops disappear in a huge explosion. Starkiller peeks around a corner at two guards standing in front of the boarding ramp.
Cutters, we'll have to draw them out. A blast might alert the crew.
R2, come here. Move to that intersection and sound the alarm.
The mechanical dwarf dutifully marches into the intersection and lets out a high electronic scream. The guards shut off their deadly laser cutters and cautiously approach the wailing robot.
What is it? What's wrong?
With incredible speed, both guards are dropped by a few precision blows from the two young captains. They immediately drag the unconscious guards into the starship.
Starkiller, Whitsun, stand guard. I'll signal the takeoff -30 and reverse that cutter.
Interior, Imperial starship, Aquile. Han and the general, followed by Leia and the robots, enter the Imperial starship. They rush through several narrow hallways leading to the bridge.
How are we going to get them to open the silo door?
Send Threepio in there. Dispose of any crewmen left on board.
Boarding ramp, spaceport, Aquile. Starkiller and Whitsun now wear the uniforms of the Imperial Guards. Whitsun has removed a plate from the cutter mechanism and is crossing a few wires. He replaces the cutter plate just as a squad of stormtroopers rushes toward the door. An officer salutes them.
Have you seen them?
No, sir.
They're in this section somewhere. I'm doubling all the guards. Stay alert.
Interior, Imperial starship, Aquile. The gleaming chrome Threepio sits in the pilot's seat, talking on the intercom to a controller. He breaks off his continual drone of takeoff instructions to the controller and turns to the general, shaking his head.
Quiet, I think they're getting suspicious.
Han enters.
The crew is taken care of.
Well, they're not going to open the silo cover, so I'm afraid we'll have to take it with us.
We're going to sustain considerable damage if we blast through that cover.
It's a thin shell. There is no choice. Signal the boys.
Boarding ramps, spaceport, Aquile. Warning lights flash, and the main hatch to the starfighter slowly begins to close. The two Imperial stormtroopers yell at Starkiller and Whitsun.
Watch it. Don't fire into those cutters. Shut down the cutters.
The two captains pretend to be confused and not understand. At the last minute, they leap aboard the starship. The hatch slides closed and the boarding ramp drops away. Boarding camps, spaceport, Aquile. Imperial flight crews rush to the starships. Pilots receive their clearance, and several giant silo covers swing away, revealing deadly hunter-destroyer spaceships. Interior, bridge, starship, space. Han and the general watch as 5 hunter-destroyers leave the spaceport at Gordon.
We suffered only light damage to a deflector fin. It will take them quite a while to catch up with us now. Tell the boys to get some rest.
Aft section, starship, space. Han retreats to the aft section of the ship, where the two captains are checking out the 2 main laser cannons mounted in large rotating bubble turrets.
The old boy says you two should get some rest. You've got some time before they catch up to us.
Han notices the packs containing the young princes.
Better store the boys in a life pod. Secure them well.
He heads back toward the bridge, followed by Whitsun. Starkiller carries the 2 micropacks to a life pod and straps them in. He checks Biggs's energy supply. It is low. Leia approaches him.
Can we let them out now?
It's better this way. Things are gonna get rough.
Will we make it? Is there any hope? Stay with me. I love you.
Starkiller is slightly shocked at this outburst. Fair enough. The princess starts to cry and clings to him for support.
No one is going to die. So stop acting like a child and start behaving like a queen. What is this silly talk of love? You belong to the people of Aquile, and my job is to return you to them and nothing more. So straighten up and get to a life pod.
She's deeply hurt by his callousness. She breaks away from him and runs down a hallway into a life pod. He is tired and angry at the whole incident. Bridge, starship, space. Threepio guides the starship toward the Opuchi system. The general watches the computer readout and estimate the position of the Imperial hunter destroyers.
Hostile craft will intercept in 30 plus.
What's the nearest star system?
Yavin.
Set a course. Maybe we can lose them among the systems.
Aft section, starship, space. Starkiller rests in one of the laser cannon pod bays. He's thinking about Leia. Slowly, a smile creeps across his face. He makes a decision, jumps up and hurries down a hallway. He taps on the life pod bulkhead, and Whitsun opens the door. Starkiller is surprised.
What is it?
Where's Leia?
She went forward. What's going on with you two?
Say the line.
Sorry, okay. Some Annikin and Padme shit. All right. We're in love. She loves me, and I just realized I love her.
You're asking for trouble. She's a queen, and you're a warrior. Do you know what you're saying?
I don't care. I've got to talk to...
Whitsun just shakes his head, but before Starkiller can finish his sentence, the ship is rocked by a bombardment of proton torpedoes. The intercom squawks to life.
Get to those guns.
Starkiller and Whitsun rush to the laser cannons and jump into the protective suits and helmets. Bridge, starship, space. Han enters the bridge and sits before a fire control center. The general sits in a chair slightly behind and above Threepio, directing the robot pilot.
Turn around. Let's face them.
Artwo, sitting quietly in a corner, watches as Threepio punches new information into the computer, and the giant starship swings around in a sharp circle. Several torpedoes explode near the ship. The general switches on the intercom.
You boys ready?
Aft section, starship, space. The captains adjust the laser cannon controls in front of them and check in with the general.
They should be within range in 12 seconds.
Starkiller adjusts his giant laser ACAC cannon, searching his electronics tracking screen for the Hunter Destroyer. Whitsun is having a problem with one of the rotating mechanisms on the huge gun. He curses, climbs out of the chair, and attempts to fix it.
My vertical rotating circuits are out.
The princess straps herself into a small life pod. Only the slightest hint of concern or worry shows in her face. She listens to her protectors relay instructions as the enemy approaches. Bridge, starship, space. The starship shudders as the Hunter Destroyers open fire. Han relays the ship's status to the general as Threepio struggles to keep up with the barrage of orders.
We're losing deflectors 331 and 1042.
Cut hard to meridian 906, level 2 to 3 degrees. We're coming under one. Wait for my signal.
Aft section, starship, space. The large starship heads directly toward the 3 enemy ships and at the last moment dives under the attacking craft. Starkiller watches the smaller crafts pass overhead, aching to open fire. He calls Whitsun on in the intercom.
I've got no signal. I'm on target. What's wrong? What are they waiting for? I'm an open shield.
The 3 Imperial craft are firing incessantly at point-blank range.
Wait for the signal.
But Starkiller has a perfect shot, and he can't wait. He squeezes the trigger, and the giant laser cannon, with a burst of smoke and electrical charge, opens up on the enemy craft. Moments later, the signal lights flash on, and Whitsun commences firing on the receding Hunter Destroyers. 2 of the Imperial craft break off and prepare for another attack run. The third is hit by a concentrated barrage from the 2 captains and begins spinning out of control until it finally explodes. Whitsun gives Starkiller a victory wave, which Starkiller gleefully returns. These moments of triumph are broken by the intercom.
Annikin, next run, you wait for my signal. We haven't got much power to spare on your inaccurate grandstanding.
Starkiller's pride is wounded. He resets his accelerators as the 2 remaining Hunter Destroyers begin a second run. Bridge, starship, space. Han turns to the general.
We have weakened shield. We have a weakened shield on the port turret.
Warn Starkiller. Get him out of there. Change your heading by 0.5.
Aft section, starship, space. Princess Leia listens to Han warn Starkiller.
Your shield power is down. Abandon that position and seal that section. Report. Captain, do you hear me? Captain!
Leia becomes worried that something has happened to Annikin. The young captain switches off the intercom system and signals to Whitsun that the system has gone dead. Before Whitsun can answer, the 2 Hunter Destroyer spacecraft are upon them once again. A direct hit blows open a hole in the turret, and everything that isn't bolted down is sucked into outer space, including Starkiller. He bangs against the side of the starship, held only by a weakened lifeline. The princess hears Whitsun explain Starkiller's predicament and rushes back to help him. She is stopped by a pressure-locked door leading to the gun emplacement. Bridge, starship, space. The general orders Threepio to swing the spacecraft around and start a new attack. He turns to Artwo.
Use the aft port. See what you can do for Starkiller.
Artwo hurriedly waddles out of the bridge. Threepio and Han simultaneously turn to the general.
Kraft approaching.
It looks like 6 or 7.
The general studies the radar scopes and then checks the galactic map displayed on one of the monitors.
Change course to 3.1.
That will head us directly into the path of the Norton asteroid belt.
That asteroid belt is too dense to pass through. The ship won't make it.
We'll never defeat them in combat. It's our only chance to lose them.
Threepio punches in new coordinates, and the starship veers away toward the treacherous asteroid belt. Aft section, starship, space. Whitsun fires on one of the 2 Hunter Destroyers that is pacing the rebel starship. Starkiller unsuccessfully tries to pull himself back inside the spacecraft. The enemy craft maneuvers wildly in an attempt to get into a better position to fire on Starkiller. Whitsun blasts away until the Imperial spacecraft spews forth equipment and personnel, careens off, and eventually explodes. R2 wobbles through space along the exterior of the ship until he reaches the stranded captain. He attaches a new lifeline to the young Jedi spacesuit and makes his way back inside the wounded craft. Starkiller is pulled to safety just as the starship enters the asteroid belt. A barrage of small and large asteroids begins to pelt the ship, causing a great deal of damage.
Secure yourselves. We may have to eject. Abandon the turrets.
The princess rushes back to her life pod and straps herself in. Whitsun and R2 help Starkiller make his way out of the laser cannon turrets and through a series of locks to the life pod area. Bridge, starship, space. The asteroids hit hard. The ship is buffeted to and fro as the General, Han, and Threepio struggle into their spacesuit-like life pods. The Imperial Hunter Destroyer closest to the Rebel ship explodes in the onrush of deadly asteroids. The new reinforcement Hunter Destroyers turn back and give up the pursuit. They disappear from the tracking monitors. The asteroid bombardment becomes almost unbearable. Warning lights begin to flash.
The ship is breaking up.
We're almost clear of the storm.
We'll never make it. Eject! We must eject!
The General watches the computer monitor as the starship emerges from the far side of the asteroid belt.
We're approaching one of the forbidden systems.
We've got to achieve orbit.
We'll never make it.
The starship heads for a small blue-green planet in the distance. Aft section, starship, space. Starkiller was considerably shaken in the destruction of his laser turret. He is slightly dazed as Whitsun straps him into a life pod with Artwo.
You watch him. Make sure this pod gets off all right.
Artwo nods, and Whitsun moves to the second life pod and straps himself in next to the princess.
Will he be all right?
I think so. His feelings for you are dangerous. You should discourage him.
She is surprised that Starkiller has any feeling for her, but keeps her emotions to herself. Bridge, starship, Yavin orbit. The General is strapped into the life pod with the two micropacks attending the young princes. Han and Threepio are in the second life pod.
We are in orbit.
We gotta eject now. Those reactors won't hold much longer. The ship is gonna end up in a million little pieces, and I don't want to be one of them.
All life pod systems are operative.
If you boys are ready back there, we'll get off this bucket.
All systems operative. I have the signal.
All systems operative. We have the signal.
Han salutes the General, and his life pod jettisons away from the crippled starship. He is quickly followed by the General. Aft section, starship, Yavin orbit. R2 pushes the jettison switch, but nothing happens.
We've got a problem. Wait a second.
R2 pushes the switch again, and the life pod suddenly blasts off in a cloud of smoke and debris. Whitsun also seems to be having a problem. Half the lights on his control panel have gone dead. He struggles to reactivate them.
My power's out.
Is it a faulty switch?
No, the whole bank is out.
Whitsun gives the princess a reassuring look, then punches some information into the computer. The monitor flashes, income line, main power. He looks outside the life pod and sees a damaged cable.
I found it.
You haven't much time. The auxiliary units have already blown.
Whitsun scrambles out of the life pod and rushes over to the severed connector. He works on it for a few moments, then stops with a rather defeated look. The princess watches him as he tries to think of a solution. A great explosion is heard in the forward part of the ship. Life pods, space, Yavin orbit. The two life pods containing the General, plus Han and Threepio, drift away from the disabled starship.
Where's Starkiller?
See him either.
Starkiller has been using the smaller rockets on his life pod to maneuver back toward the burning starship. He can hear the General over the intercom.
Starkiller, where are you? Report in.
Starkiller reaches down and switches off the intercom. Aft section, starship, Yavin orbit. Whitsun appears to have found a solution to his situation and rushes back to the princess. He reaches in and locks on the power switch.
There's only one possible solution, and we must use it. Lock the hatch and make sure it's sealed.
But what if...
Another explosion creates a large bulge in the wall of the aft section.
We've no time!
He slams the hatch shut and runs to the power connector. Smoke begins to fill the chamber as Whitsun slams a large metallic dampening tool across the damaged connector terminals, and the life pod jettisons away. Life pods, space, Yavin orbit. The princess jettisons free as Starkiller moves toward the crippled ship. Leia calls the General on the intercom.
I'm all right, but Clieg is still on board.
Starkiller, stay out of there.
With a rumble, the starship disappears in a spectacular explosion, sending debris in all directions. Starkiller stops his life pod, and it starts to drift. He is weeping. Han and the General helplessly watch the remains of the explosion drift away.
Starkiller, stay near Leia. Use your beacon. Coordinate with us.
Starkiller's intercom is weak, and there is a great deal of static. The life pods drift toward the awesome blue-green Yavin surface. The general loses sight of the other life pods as they descend through the cloud cover.
Captain, I'm losing your beacon. Send me a new signal.
All he gets is static. The planet's surface rushes toward the falling life pods. Retro rockets automatically kick in and slow the pods. 2 of the small craft break through the clouds and land in the dense, steaming jungles.
All right, we're going to use this time to take a little 3 to 5 minute break so that people can bio and drink some water. But we're going to be right here. So, and continuing the rest of this, we're almost done, but I recognize we need a break.
All right, good on you, Ryan. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah, so we are going to break. We'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes.
Han and Threepio run to the base of the huge tree.
All right.
Fine. Any signal from Annikin?
Nothing yet. I think they landed further south.
The general attaches a thin cable from his utility belt to the tree trunk, then slides to the ground. Han takes the micropacks from him. The general looks around at the jungle.
This is dangerous country. We better stay together.
The wildlife in the Forbidden System is extremely hostile. Perhaps we should seek shelter.
Han inspects the power units of the micropacks.
This unit is very low. I can't tell if the unit is still functioning.
We have to find a place to revive them. We'll start moving south. We should find protection along that ridge.
The general grabs one of the micropacks and starts off into the murky jungle. Han and Threepio quickly follow. The jungle is strange and eerie, a fog-laden purgatory. Gruesome and unnatural sounds permeate this ghostly wasteland. Everyone is cautious and on the alert for an unseen danger. Forest of the Gargantuans, Yavin. Starkiller's life pod is also caught in the limbs of a gargantuan tree. The life pod has been ripped in half by the crash landing. The unconscious Jedi hangs half out of the damaged craft. A 2-foot-high insect-like creature scoots down a branch and onto the back of the dormant warrior. The insect lets out a chilling, hissing sound, and a slimy tube emerges from its hairy mouth, waking Starkiller. He is immediately aware of the insect. His eyes are open, but he doesn't move. Suddenly, with one quick blow, he knocks the creature against the side of the spacecraft, where it is squashed, lifeless.
R2? R2D2.
Starkiller turns and sees the little robot hanging upside down, one of his 3 feet caught in a vine. Starkiller lifts R2 out of his predicament and places him securely on a wide limb.
Did you see Leia?
She landed on the other side of those trees, approximately 800 meters.
Oh, come on, old buddy. Let's get ourselves out of this tree.
Vine Jungle Ridge, Yavin. The general, Han, and Threepio reach a shallow cave near the top of a steep ridge. They quickly pull off the micropacks and place them on a clear piece of ground at the mouth of the cave.
Check out the inside. Threepio, stand guard. Keep your eyes on the countryside.
He looks at the power units on the micropacks and shakes his head with a worried look. Han returns from a survey of the inside of the cave.
Didn't go very far. There's nothing back there.
Help me with this.
Han helps the general lift the top from the case containing Windy, the younger of the 2 princes. The small boy appears lifeless as the general pulls him from his encasement and rests him on the cave floor. Han pulls a small respirator out of the micropacks and places it over the boy's nose. The general switches 2 electrodes over his heart.
Doesn't look good.
The little prince begins to turn blue. The general grows tense. Windy starts to regain consciousness, but begins coughing and choking, then goes limp again. The general quickly props Windy's mouth open with a small plastic rod and checks the reading on his power pack.
We need more power. Tap off Big's unit, quickly.
He then places Windy's arms behind his back and starts pressing on his chest with sharp, rhythmic movements. Han attaches new electrodes to the boy's heart. Windy again comes to, choking and coughing. Finally, he begins to cry. The general takes the plastic tube from Windy's mouth and tenderly pats him on the back.
Let's get Biggs out of there. He shouldn't be a problem.
Forest of the Gargantuans, Yavin. Starkiller slams closed the hatch of Princess Leia's life pod. In the distance, the subhuman cries of lonesome tree beasts cut through the forest murmur.
Perhaps she went in search of us.
Starkiller studies the ground around the capsule. There are a great many footprints and much broken foliage.
Someone's got her. She put up quite a fight. It's an easy trail to follow.
Vine Jungle Ridge, Yavin. Both Biggs and Windy are sleeping restlessly on the floor of the cave. Han watches over them as the general scans the valley below with a pair of electrobinoculars.
It's about 14 degrees below the horizon, a little to the left.
The electrobinoculars sweep the rich green landscape until they come to rest on a bright reflection, revealing some type of structure.
It's too small to be a military base. Could belong to a trapper.
Highly unusual.
It's on the way. Perhaps we should investigate.
Little Biggs wakes up with a giant yawn.
Hey, where are we?
Forest of the Gargantuans, Yavin. The gargantuan trees are shrouded in mist, and the ominous sounds of unearthly creatures fill the air. Starkiller moves quietly and cautiously, followed by Artwo, who inadvertently makes a loud clicking sound. The young warrior stops and motions to the stubby little robot.
Wait here, and if I don't return by 0200, come looking for me.
He climbs up the bankside of a huge tree and inches his way out onto one of the huge overhanging branches. Below him, he can see a group of scruffy alien trappers sitting around a neutron stove, joking and telling stories. Parked on either side of the group are two large tank-like jungle crawlers. Behind the crawlers, 5 Wookiees, huge furry gray beasts, have been hung with ropes upside down in a tree. Occasionally, they thrash about in great anger and frustration. Moments later, the shirtless trapper emerges from the crawler with Princess Leia held unconscious over his head. Starkiller's rage knows no bounds. With a terrifying Jedi war cry, the young captain jumps from the tree, sails over 100 feet diagonally downward, and lands in the middle of the startled trappers with great agility. In one continuous, rapid motion, he ignites his laser sword and cuts down 3 of the vile creatures. The 3 remaining creatures have their pistols out and start firing. Explosions erupt all around Starkiller. One blast hits the branch holding the Wookiees, and they collapse with a loud screech in a heap. One of the trappers is caught in the crossfire and is blown apart. When the smoke clears, Starkiller lies unconscious amid the burning rubble. Chewbacca, one of the furry giants, grabs him and snaps a remaining trapper in 2 like a stick of wood. Starkiller finally regains semi-consciousness and attempts to get up, only to groan and collapse back into unconsciousness. The Wookiees gather around him and poke him a couple of times to see if he is still alive. They squawk and jabber, apparently in some kind of argument. Finally, Dewana, the largest of the Wookiees, picks up Starkiller and puts him over his shoulder. The group disappears into the jungle foliage. Treehouse, Forest of the Gargantuans, Yavin. Han and Threepio carry the 2 little boys on their shoulders. Eventually, on the opposite side of a clearing, a small metal structure is attached to one of the huge trees. It is a small, weather-beaten hut of futuristic design. It appears deserted. The general cautiously approaches the structure.
Howdy, stranger. What can I offer you?
The general spins around and sees Owen Lars, an aged and scruffy-looking anthropologist.
I'm Owen Lars of the Bastine.
The general takes the old man's extended hand.
I'm Luke Skywalker of Akile.
He signals for the others to join him in the clearing. Wookiee Camp, Yavin. The small caravan of Wookiees, led by Chewbacca, enters a small clearing surrounded by many bark and mud hovels. Giant bush baby-like Wookiees of all ages and sizes make their way into the clearing. Many stand dumbfounded, but others let out a joyful scream and rush up to members of the group, hugging and kissing them. Dewana dumps the unconscious Starkiller on a raised area in the middle of the clearing. Armed Wookiees immediately surround the helpless human. Chewbacca enters the largest of the lodges. He is greeted by his father, Alzituk, chief of the Kapauku tribe, an old and feeble Wookiee dressed in royal skins and headdress. Interior, anthropologist hut, Yavin. Anthropologist Lars, the general, Han, and the children sit around a large table, eating. Lars yells into the kitchen.
Beru, where's the Thanta sauce?
Beru Lars, Owen's warm, plump wife, enters, carrying a small pitcher. She smiles at Owen.
I swan I put it right here in front so you'd see it. Here's some bum extract. It's very mild.
There are no settlers of the South since the Dow family was wiped out. I'm afraid I couldn't even get in there to bury them. Those Wookiees are the fiercest critters I've ever run across. A new tribe moved in down there about a year ago, and it's been hell ever since. Only Aurelian trappers venture in there now, and many of them don't even come back.
Where's the nearest city?
No cities at all. Only a few scattered settlers and one imperial outpost, but the troops are no help. They kill and plunder rather than protect. Enough. If your friends landed further south, I'd fear for them.
Far is the outpost from there?
Oh, about 5 leagues. An oppressive blight.
What class is it? How many support craft?
Oh, it's very small. A class 2. Only 10 or 12 star raiders, I think.
Beru fusses over the boys, who refuse to eat their vegetables. She makes up a game which tricks them into eating. The general ponders the situation. Han eats like he hasn't eaten in years. Wookiee Camp, Aquile. Although that should be Yavin, actually. Wookiee Camp, Yavin. Starkiller is surrounded by Wookiees. Young ones push through to get a better look, as the adults jabber and argue about the human. He reaches for his weapons, but they are gone. 3 guards with long spears attempt to contain Starkiller, now woken. With a loud shout, he lunges at them, and to give him a little room, Jomilia, a large, ferocious Wookiee, steps forward. He struts before Starkiller, boasting and taunting him with his spear and battle axe. The captain studies the Wookiee warrior as he paces back and forth, his helmet plumes dancing and chest armor jangling. Without warning, Starkiller lets out another loud yell, startling Jomilia into backing off. Jomilia continues to back into the surrounding crowd, momentarily confused by this odd behavior. Slowly, Jomilia begins to grin. He takes a defensive stance, then begins to laugh hysterically. This stops Starkiller. The giant Wookiee swings his deadly double-bladed axe over his head and expertly throws it directly at the young captain's head. To the amazement of Jomilia and the other Wookiees, Starkiller, with Jedi skill and concentration, catches the axe in midair, then charges his furry opponent. Jomilia is caught off guard, but manages to block Starkiller's attack with his spear. A loud command from outside the crowd stops the fight. The Wookiees part, revealing Chewbacca and his father, who approach the 2 warriors. Jomilia bows before his chief and is commanded to move away. Chewbacca speaks to Starkiller, who doesn't understand, but welcomes the chance to catch his breath. Chewbacca then presents his father, who steps forward and bows before the mighty Jedi. Chewbacca bows also, as the crowd of Wookiees chatter in disbelief. When the chief and his son rise, Starkiller bows down before them. This pleases the Wookiees, and they screech and cheer. Treehouse, Forest of the Gargantuans, Yavin. Mr. and Mrs. Lars stand on the balcony of their treehouse with Threepio and the 2 little princes, Biggs and Windy. Han and the general emerge with large survival backpacks and multiple laser weapons.
We'll call for you when we found them.
Your orders are quite clear. The boys will be quite safe.
Don't worry, the patrols never come out this far. We'll take good care of the boys.
Lars, your kindness will surely be rewarded.
Just be careful out there.
He pats Skywalker on the back as the old Jedi and the ever-faithful Han descend from the treehouse. At the base of the huge tree, the warriors climb aboard 2 small rocket-powered platforms.
They're pretty old. I hope they'll be all right.
Out here, they're a wonderment.
Threepio and the kids wave as the jet sticks start with a whine. They idle about 5 feet above the ground.
Good hunting. May the force of others be with you.
Han and the general wave as they ride off into the foreboding Yavin sunset. Wookiee Camp, Yavin, morning. It is a quiet gray morning. A low mist hangs over the now deserted clearing. R2 turns and signals back into a hut. Starkiller cautiously emerges from the mud house. He wears a crude backpack and carries a large battle axe. They start across the clearing. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Chewbacca is standing before them. He says nothing, but scratches his head and then circles around Starkiller.
We are leaving. We must go. Stand away.
The huge Wookiee kneels and bows down in front of the young Jedi. Starkiller looks down and smiles.
Rise, my friend. We will meet again.
Starkiller walks toward the jungle, and Chewbacca scurries around ahead of him and bows down once more.
What does he want?
Starkiller shakes his head and rubs his several days' growth of beard. He leans down toward Chewbacca.
Stand up so we can talk properly.
Chewbacca jabbers in a questioning fashion.
I am very grateful to you and your people, but I must go. I wish you understood me. It would make things so much easier, but go. Just go.
Starkiller turns away and begins to walk toward the jungle again. Chewbacca gets to his feet and runs after the Jedi, following a few paces behind. Starkiller notices the Wookiee following them and shakes his head. Forest of the Gargantuans, Trapper Site, Yavin. The bodies of the killed trappers are covered with rat-sized insects. A laser explosion from a pistol erupts in the middle of the slimy creatures, and they scatter into the underbrush. Han and the general come over and turn over one of the dead trappers.
They ran into something.
It's strange they left there dead. Something.
The constant cacophony of jungle creatures suddenly stops. The two warriors scan the jungle for possible danger. Han draws his laser pistol too. The cacophony starts again as the general ignites his laser sword.
2 or 3 moving this way from the east.
He listens more closely for a few moments.
It's R2.
Starkiller breaks out of the dark foliage into the clearing. He waves to Han and the general. R2 waddles a few paces behind. Chewbacca sees the humans and stops at the edge of the jungle. He watches as Starkiller and the general carry on an animated conversation. Han sees the Wookiee lurking in the shadows.
You are followed.
He wouldn't stay. He's one of the ones I saved.
Han calls out to Chewbacca in the Wookiee's own language, and the huge lumbering creature approaches the group. Han and the Wookiee talk for a few moments, then embrace as if they were old friends. Starkiller is surprised.
This is Chewbacca, son of Azatuk, prince of the Sawas, a very powerful tribe.
The general smiles. Starkiller is embarrassed. Vine Jungle Ridge, Yavin. Starkiller joins the general on a ridge overlooking the imperial outpost of Mavasi. All that can be seen of the fortress is a lone guard standing on a small pedestal jutting out above the dense jungle.
The trail leads directly to the outpost. Patrols are probably out looking for us by now.
Finding her in there isn't going to be easy.
Getting in there is going to be impossible. We could sure use one of those starships.
Starkiller spots something moving in the jungle. He scans the area with his electro binoculars.
Something's going down on there. Han!
Han moves up next to Starkiller, followed closely by Chewbacca.
Your eyes are better than mine. What do you make of that?
They look like Wookiees. Hundreds of them.
Han turns and speaks to Chewbacca, gesturing toward the movement far below in the jungle.
Apparently it's a siege. They've been harassing the outpost for almost 2 years.
Have they ever tried to take the fortress?
Han relays this to Chewbacca.
He says they've made several assaults, but they are no match for the weapons.
It's only a Class 3 fortress. Maybe they just need a little help.
Starkiller grins, and Han says something to Chewbacca, who becomes excited and screeches loudly. Interior, treehouse, Yavin. The incoming signal alarm on the anthropologist's radio system wails through the calm of the treehouse. Biggs, leading an 8-legged furry rodent on a leash, rushes up to the old radio and flips the receiver.
I'm reading ya. Go ahead.
Biggs, how are you getting along?
Great. I caught a thumper, a really big one. Its name is Amber.
He yanks on the leash, and the furry beast lets out a strained yelp.
Good, Biggs. How's your brother? Are you taking good care of him?
Oh, sure. He's out collecting ABBAs with Owen and Beru. I'm in charge here. Did you find Leia?
Not yet. We'll be away for a while. You mind Lars until we return. May the force of others be with you.
All right. Take care.
Threepio enters the room, carrying a plate of steaming food. Biggs turns the radio off and puts the receiver away. A crashing sound and voices are heard in the clearing below.
Come and eat your dinner.
They're back. They're back. Come, Amber.
The furry rodent jumps up onto its 8 stubby legs and rushes over to the door, but stops short and begins to growl. Biggs stops behind the creature.
What is it, Amber?
Biggs peeks out the window and sees a patrol of 6 Imperial stormtroopers climbing out of an air tank. He ducks back and tugs Amber away from the door.
Quiet, Amber. Come here. Come on.
What's wrong?
Troopers, we must hide. Stay quiet.
The troopers begin to climb the ladder to the treehouse. Breaching it, they poke around, tearing everything apart. Biggs struggles to keep Amber quiet, hidden. Suddenly, he realizes something.
The food!
The sergeant takes the bowl of food from the table and studies it. He then takes a small chrome ball from his pocket and tosses it into the air. Antennae shoot from its surface as it floats around the room. Eventually, it hovers over toward a trap door where they had been hidden. A sinister grin sweeps across the sergeant's face as he moves over to the trap door and puts the chrome ball back into his pocket. Threepio puts his arm around Biggs, who is desperately clutching the struggling Thumper. All the movement above them stops, and Biggs looks to the robot.
They're still up there. Stay still.
The silence continues. Then suddenly the trap door swings open with a loud bang. Amber breaks away from Biggs and attacks the sergeant. One of the troopers cuts the Thumper in half with his laser sword. The sergeant pulls Biggs out of his hiding place. Biggs stares at the dead Thumper.
Well, well, here's one of them anyway. Send seekers in all directions. Find the others.
Vine Jungle Ridge, Yavin. The general sits at the head of a large stone table, pushing small markers around. Starkiller sits back, silently watching the Wookiee warriors in attendance and listening to the general's plan.
Then they pull back to here. That's where the trap will be set. No one must advance. An assault on the perimeter is useless. Our only hope is to use their weapons against them.
The general pauses while Han and Chewbacca translate to the Wookiees.
Once we acquire those tanks, our prime object must be to secure the starship. No one must escape.
Interior, control room, Imperial outpost, Yavin. A trooper, sitting at an elaborate control panel, turns to an officer watching a monitor system.
Large concentration of terrestrials at point E2.
Alert squads 1 through 6.
Vine Jungles, outpost, perimeter, Yavin. The general stands in a small clearing surrounded by many armed Wookiees carrying large, shiny shields. Han moves back and forth, barking orders to the assembled creatures.
We're ready. Give them the signal.
Han motions to a young Wookiee who takes off running through the jungle. Imperial outpost, Vine Jungle, Yavin. A tank pilot sitting on a hatch rim of a ponderous weaponized tank, studying the movements of the Wookiees.
There's a large concentration. Red tube, C3. Let's break them up.
Returning to the tanks open with a barrage of laser bolts, which create a wall of explosions. The Wookiees retreat, and the tanks follow. The tank crews track the fleeing creatures with various electronic scopes, laughing as they do so. Vine Jungle, outpost perimeter, Yavin. The general stands on a limb of a jungle tree, watching the advancing tanks. Starkiller is on another branch, a few feet away.
They've grown sloppy fighting Wookiees. The intraphaser systems aren't on. They're in for a little surprise.
Starkiller flashes a signal mirror, which is received by a Wookiee near the tanks. The Wookiees are in pairs, and they hold heavy stone wedges attached to woven vines. When the tanks pass directly under the Wookiees, they let loose with the heavy stone pendulums, which neatly clip off the antenna groupings protruding from the tops of the air tanks. Interior, air tank, Vine Jungle, Yavin. Several of the lights and monitors go dark on the main control panel of a tank. The pilot flips several switches in a panic.
All high phasing units are out. We've lost all contact.
Send out a ground signal.
Suddenly, all of the monitors go white, and static fills the crowded tank interior. An alarm signal sounds.
What is it?
All signals, sensors, everything is coming right back to us. Some kind of deflection screen. It's a total blackout.
Go out there and see if you can see anything.
The pilot pushes a button and the main hatch slowly slides away. Vine Jungle, outpost perimeter, Yavin. The pilot pops out of the hatch and sees 2 rows of Wookiee warriors holding reflective shields. They form a circle that totally encompasses the massive air tank. Han shouts to signal to a group of Wookiees in another tree, and they cut loose a bent limb, which is attached to a noose around the tank's hatch. The noose instantly tightens around the pilot, and he's plucked from the tank and suspended 50 feet in the air. In an equally swift move, Starkiller drops a small gas grenade into the open hatch. It explodes and engulfs the tank in a gray mist. The Wookiees let out a joyful yell and charge the tank. Han yells at them to stop, but several make it to the conquered craft before the gas cloud dissipates, and they are felled by the fumes.
That makes 4 captured.
Have them camouflaged. I'm going with Starkiller.
Interior, air tank, Vine Jungle, Yavin. Wookiees are removing the tank crew as Starkiller checks out the power controls. The general slides down through the main hatch.
Any damage?
She's fine. We're ready to move.
Then let's go.
The general yells for the Wookiees to clear the tanks, and they scramble out of the hatch. Vine Jungle, outpost perimeter, Yavin. The tank starts up with a loud roar, startling the many Wookiees resting on the mighty vehicle. Chewbacca yells at the warriors, and they fall a few feet behind the tank, their shields forming a shiny protective wall. Imperial outpost, Vine Jungle, Yavin. Several officers stand on a parked air tank, trying to get a better view of the operation. A light land speeder pulls up next to the group, and a general gets out. The officers snap to attention.
Can you see anything?
No, sir, but they've stopped firing.
Communication still can't reach them, sir.
Nobody seems to know what's going on.
I'm sure they've got them on the run, sir.
A laser bolt flashes out of the jungle and knocks out a guard tower about a quarter of a mile from where the men are standing. Seconds later, the air tank on which they are standing explodes into a million pieces. Out of the jungle rumbles the captured air tank, driven by Starkiller and followed by a column of Wookiee warriors. Later, explosions erupt everywhere as the Wookiees begin to use captured laser rifles. They are much fiercer fighters than the soft Imperial troops. Interior, air tank, outpost of Yavin. Starkiller works the controls of the air tank as the general watches the monitors and works the laser guns.
Wing left. They're trying to cut us off.
Starship, runway, Imperial outpost, Yavin. Starkiller maneuvers the air tank in front of a line of 10 starships, cutting off a platform of stormtroopers. The troopers open fire on the tank, but they are cut down by a group of Wookiees who have moved in behind them. Han and Artwo run up to the tank as Starkiller and the general climb out of the hatch.
Taken the main control center. All power units have been shut down. They're helpless.
Have they found Leia?
They've taken her back to Aqualay. The ship left not more than 10 hours ago.
Set up a perimeter around these starships. Use as many men as you need.
Staff office, Imperial outpost, Yavin. Starkiller and the general sit at a large table in the deserted office of the Imperial's chief of staff. The room is in a state of disarray. Papers are scattered everywhere. R2 stands on a chair, projecting an image of the Death Star fortress orbiting Aqualay onto the tabletop.
And are connected to the central system by a series of crossing networks similar to Section 2B4 or F687.
I'm not going to stop you, but I think it's a reckless move. Even if you could get in, you'd just never be able to get out. Just be patient. We now have enough ships to attack with force.
But no pilots.
Han and Chewbacca enter the office.
No contact with Owen Mars or the kids. I'm afraid something's happened.
Have Chewbacca send 2 of his best warriors out there to get them.
Han relates this to Chewbacca. The general turns back to Starkiller, who watches Chewbacca leave the room.
They're fierce warriors, but you'll never teach them how to fly.
The general gives him a stern look.
They'll fly, and Aqualay will be free.
May the force of others be with you.
The general embraces the young Jedi.
Bring her back safely.
Conference room, Interior Space Fortress, Aqualay. General Vader of the Imperial Space Fleet hurries down a hallway, followed by a group of officers. They enter the large conference room where Leia is held under heavy guard. She appears well, but saddened. Vader approaches her and bows before her.
I pray you have been treated honorably. I am your servant, Darth Vader. It won't be long before we will be able to return you to your people. Are the chambers ready?
They are working on it, sir.
Leia stares defiantly at him. She starts to speak, but a powerful electric shock engulfs her body, and she whines in extreme pain.
Just relax, and everything will be fine. Take her to section 2025.
Leia is forcibly taken from the room.
What time do the doctors from Alderaan arrive?
65 hours, sir.
Put all security stations on alert until they arrive.
The officer salutes smartly and exits. Imperial outpost, Vine Jungle, Yavin. A huge air tank rumbles along the approach to the Imperial outpost. The pilot sits on the main hatch of the tank, talking to his crew by headphones.
Any contact yet? It appears deserted. I don't like it.
The tank enters the outpost perimeter and smoking rubble from the recent battle comes into view. The pilot becomes alarmed.
There's been an attack. Reverse direction.
The tank comes to a grinding halt, but before it can start up again, it is surrounded by the Wookiee army. They reach the captured air tank just as the last crewman is hauled out, and little Biggs pokes his head out of the hatch. He is frightened. His younger brother, Windy, follows him out of the tank. Below them, the Wookiees bully the captured crewmen.
What will they do to us?
I don't know, but it don't look good.
Threepio pulls himself out of the air tank, followed by Owen, Lars, and his wife. The Wookiee chieftain climbs on board and starts to jabber at the group. The Wookiee carries on for some time, gesturing wildly and continually pointing at the sky.
I don't get it.
The Wookiee rises and again gestures skyward, just as a starship wildly buzzes the field, flying upside down. Interior, Imperial starship, sky over Yavin. Chewbacca sits at the controls of a 4-man starship. His face is a twisted combination of complete panic and an awesome religious experience. The general sitting next to him calmly switches a few buttons on the control panel as Han watches from the seat directly behind the Wookiee.
You'll get the hang of it.
Han also gives the Wookiee a few words of encouragement.
Now, let's see if we can get into orbit. Push this, then ease her up.
Chewbacca follows the instructions, but pulls back on the lever too fast, and the ship begins to vibrate and bounce violently. Chewbacca thinks it's funny and begins to laugh hysterically. Han becomes nervous and quiet.
Not so fast. Back off. Back off.
Han yells at the Wookiee, who can't respond because he is laughing so hard. The general pulls back on the lever. Han shakes his head and gives the general a worried look.
Don't worry. Ignorance is on their side.
Han is beginning to look a little sick. He gets up and rushes to the back of the ship. Imperial Space Fortress, docking area, Aquila. The canopy on the starship pops open, and Artwo and young Annikin, disguised as a Star Raider, climb out onto the docking platform of this Death Star. An officer and 2 ground crew approach him and salute. Starkiller hands the officer his papers.
I'm here to check the vent ports in the rim tracks.
Your ship is from Yavin. We've lost all contact with them. What's going on out there?
There's a fierce inversion just east of Bullpup Station. It's a real mess out there.
The officer smiles and the ground crew starts to check out the starship. Starkiller heads for the main docking exit, followed by Artwo. He remembers something as he passes the control station, so he calls out to the officer.
Do you mind if I use your comm link?
No, go ahead.
Starkiller walks into the small control area and pretends to talk on an intercom system.
Find the highest security area.
Artwo, listening, punches his claw arm into a computer socket, and the brain comes to life, feeding information to the little robot.
Station 325 is the highest security area on board. It's a detention area.
They disappear into a chamber lock hallway. Detention area, Space Fortress, Aquila. Starkiller and Artwo enter a security station. Guards and electronic cutters are everywhere. An officer approaches Starkiller and checks his papers.
The B-23 can't enter this station.
But I need him.
Sorry, no mechanical personnel. It's restricted.
Starkiller watches helplessly as Artwo is led into a waiting area.
You may proceed, but you'll have to be escorted.
A trooper joins Starkiller and leads him through a series of hallways. Starkiller carefully surveys the area as he follows the guard.
Methusians just beat the PDRs again. They should be in another league. Do you follow the econometrics?
The guard turns to discover that Starkiller has disappeared. He is stunned, then manages to pull out a small ring radio.
Code 6, alert.
Starship runway, Imperial outpost, Yavin. 6 Wookiees sit before Han and the general, listening to Han explain something about space fighting. Owen Lars approaches the general.
We made contact with the underground on Aquila. Things are tighter. They can only get 1 man out. Datos is on his way.
We should be ready by the time he arrives.
Han turns to the general.
Ready to go up.
The general makes a short statement to the Wookiees in their own language. They let out a loud cheer, then run for the row of starships. Detention area hallway, Space Fortress, Aquila. A patrol of 10 men marches through one of the long hallways in the detention area.
Ben 5 to moment. All clear.
One trooper notices a small reflected light in one of the narrow corridors, and he carefully moves down the dark passageway to check it out. Out of nowhere, a fist knocks the trooper unconscious and drags him into a small alcove. Other men scurry in all directions, and out of a narrow corridor emerges Starkiller, dressed in the uniform of an Imperial Star Trooper. He joins the platoon, and they march away. General's quarters, Space Fortress, Aquila. General Vader and several officers watch the progress of the search on TV monitors. The general speaks into an intercom.
Have them clear the area. Bring in the Seekers.
Valorum, who was once a proud knight of the Sith, enters wearing the uniform of a mere stormtrooper. He snaps to attention before the general and hands him a report. Vader gives Valorum a sly grin.
Contact has been lost with the ship carrying the doctors from Alderaan. The princess's treatment will have been delayed.
We've just trapped your own friend, Starkiller. Watch us accomplish what you found to be impossible.
Valorum is humiliated, but stays at attention. Vader gets an emergency call on the intercom.
Yes? Yes. Put it on the view screen.
One of the TV monitors switches to an image of the unconscious trooper, Starkiller stripped.
Get me the captain of the guard!
Detention area, main entry, Space Fortress, Aquila. 3 squads of troopers, including Starkiller, stand at attention in the main entrance of the detention center, while the captain of the guard gets new orders over his headphones. Starkiller studies the situation carefully, looking for a way out of his predicament. The sergeant, with orders, works his way down the line until he gets to the trooper next to Starkiller, who sees no chance of escape, but through surprise. Suddenly, he bolts from the ranks and races down the hallway.
Squad leaders!
Starkiller breaks away from the troopers and runs down a long hallway. A safety door slides shut, closing off his escape. He turns around in time to see another door seal off the opposite end of the hallway. Before he can make any attempt to pry open the door, gas fills the sealed corridor. Starkiller collapses in a heap on the floor. General's quarters, Space Fortress, Aquila. Vader laughs as he watches the unconscious Starkiller on the TV monitors. All of the other officers in the room are laughing and joking, except Valorum, who remains grimly at attention.
Take him to the special section.
Valorum salutes and exits the offices. Vader laughs again. Starship Runway, Imperial Outpost, Yavin. In one of the Wookiee crews, a pilot is picking fleas off the back of his tail gunner. When the general passes, he snaps to attention. There's a gleam in the general's eye as he shows off his strike force to a crusty old underground leader. When they've inspected the last starship, Datos turns to the general.
I'm speechless. It's amazing. A most impressive display. For the first time since the takeover, I feel real hope.
Apologies. Will your people be ready?
Our forces have already started sabotaging their comlink setups. A refugee camp on Manayo has been conducting raids on shipping from Alderaan. This is how we intercepted those doctors.
Get them in the ships. We're on our way. Send the code signal.
Detention cell, Space Fortress, Aquila. General Vader and Valorum watch as a medic revives Starkiller, who has been strapped to an upright slab, protected by cutter rays.
He's coming around.
The medic backs away and throws the switch, which activates the cutters. A blue glow surrounds Starkiller as he wakes up and sees Vader and Valorum.
For all the myths and trouble, you don't seem so much.
He laughs and leaves Valorum alone in the room with the young Jedi. Valorum appears sad and frustrated at the capture of this noble warrior. They stare at one another for a few moments.
You were insane to come here. The security on this thing is impossible. Why? For her? I can't believe your loyalty is that strong. You're a great warrior, but you're a greater fool. This place is for androids. No codes, no honor. Our ways are useless here. Why couldn't you have just stayed away?
He storms out of the cell. Starkiller struggles to free himself. Slum dwelling, Gordon Spaceport, Aquile. The young partisan, Oko, listens to a small transmitter in a secret closet behind the main room in a slum dwelling. He jumps up and runs into the main room where Quist and several other men are sitting around a table covered with maps and plans.
It's Datos. We've got the go-ahead.
Everyone cheers and starts hugging and slapping each other on the back. Finally, they settle down.
Go to your organizations. What's the code time?
0330.
May the force of others be with you.
The men solemnly shake hands and leave the room. Governor's office, Space Fortress, Aquile. Starkiller stands on a small platform before Governor Hoedaack and the High Consul. His hands are held behind his back by electric bonds.
And I'm sure the Emperor will enjoy your execution. I only regret I won't be there myself. This should end the Jedi myth once and for all. Take him to Alderaan.
Valorum steps forward with a squad of stormtroopers and escorts the prisoner away. Vader and the governor seem very pleased with themselves. Valorum looks back in disgust. Control Center, Space Fortress, Aquile. In the large central control room, two officers sit above a row of monitors and giant readouts.
Look, this whole sector just went dead. We're losing contact with the surface. Use the IF link and find out what's going on.
Docking area, Space Fortress, Aquile. Valorum halts the squad guarding Starkiller on an observation deck overlooking a starship docking port. Valorum reports to the officer in charge.
Where is the ship? It's on its way in. It will just be a few minutes.
Valorum returns to his squad and watches the large starship slowly move into the docking area. He glances at Starkiller, who stands defiant, ready to meet his fate. Valorum continues to study Starkiller. The young Jedi returns his gaze. Slowly, the spacecraft locks onto the docking port with a loud jolt. The troops snap to attention, but Valorum grabs two laser swords and in one swift move switches off Starkiller's bonds and tosses him one of the laser swords. Starkiller assumes a defensive stance as the troops realize what has happened and draw their own swords.
This way, come on.
The two warriors fight their way through a side exit. The door slides closed behind them, and Valorum throws the lock, trapping the troops on the observation platform. The two men race down the hallway and stop at an intersection.
This way, we can get to the starship and be out of here before they're discovered.
I'm not leaving without the princess.
It's impossible. There are traps everywhere. You're mad.
Starkiller just grins and runs down the passageway leading to the detention area. Valorum rushes and catches up. An alarm signal wails through the hallways. Wookiee starships, space. The general leads 3 squads of 3 starships each toward the glowing planet of Aquile.
There she is. Activate your deflection shields.
Detention area, Space Fortress, Aquile. Valorum talks with the captain of the guard. He gestures wildly like something important has happened. 4 troops run into the central detention area, leading the bound Princess Leia. The captain of the guard salutes Valorum, and the Sith Knight, followed by the 4 troops and Leia, leave the main area. Detention hallway, Space Fortress, Aquile. Starkiller appears boldly at the end of the hallway, facing Valorum and the troops. Get him! The troops rush for Starkiller, swords drawn. They're no match for the skilled Jedi. He makes short work of them as Valorum frees the princess. The trio then run into another hallway. The princess embraces Starkiller.
We only have a few seconds before they find us. All of these hallways are sealable.
Starkiller spots a small garbage chute on the corridor wall. He goes and looks into it.
Is this pressurized?
Valorum nods yes, and they lift the princess into the chute and quickly follow. Garbage chute, Space Fortress Aquile. The trio slides through a series of chutes until they end up in a large room full of garbage. Starkiller spots a doorway and struggles to get it open.
They're power sealed. We'll have to find another way, or some way to shut off the power.
They search the smooth-walled room for another exit. Governor's quarters, Space Fortress Aquile. Governor Hoedaack watches General Vader as he supervises the hunt for Starkiller and Valorum. They watch troops move through the detention area via TV monitors. Seekers buzz through the hallways. The general gets a report from an officer on another monitor.
We've lost contact with the surface. There's a good probability of an uprising. Even the IF links are out.
Use a substandard relay and put all units on alert.
The officer disappears from the monitor and is replaced with the captain of the guard.
All sections D through P12 are clear. We have reason to suspect they escaped through the disposal system. We are checking.
He is interrupted.
We've found them in receptacle B29. You should...
A red light flashes on one of the other monitors.
Hold on.
A controller appears on the second monitor.
Starships approaching. 3 squads, Imperial design, but no clearance.
Full alert, battle sections, stations.
The general turns back to the captain of the guards.
You should have them on your screen.
Alarms sound throughout the fortress. Lights flash a warning. Garbage receptacle, Space Fortress, Aquile. A floodlight switches on, revealing Valorum and Starkiller attempting to cut open the door. The princess stands up and stares into the floodlight. Vader's voice comes over an intercom.
I'm afraid I have no more time to deal with you. A senseless and futile attack by your friends has forced me to take a rather unpleasant course of action. Your execution will have to be expedited.
The intercom clicks off, and a loud rumbling begins to shake the room. With a loud shriek, the princess points to the far wall, which starts to move toward the trio. The situation looks desperate. Space, Wookiee starships, Aquile. Laser fire from the Space Fortress creates a wall of death, which the 3 squadrons of Wookiee starships miraculously pass through undamaged. The general barks orders to the Wookiee crafts, and Chewbacca and his squadron break off and start an attack dive. Laser fire from Chewbacca's brightly colored ship hits one of the prime power terminals on the fortress surface. It explodes, creating weird electric arcs as it splinters into space. Han and the general also concentrate fire on the distinctive black power terminals. 2 more are destroyed in an arcing spectacle. A chain reaction is set off, creating a series of explosions leaping across the surface of the fortress from power terminal to power terminal. Garbage receptacle, Space Fortress, Aquile. The shock of the explosion can be felt over the rumbling of the trash masher. The wall has moved within a few yards of squashing Valorum, Starkiller, and the princess. They're still frantically trying to somehow stop the relentless wall, to no avail. The lights blink off, then on again, and the moving wall rumbles to a halt. Leia breathes a sigh of relief.
They must have knocked the power out.
Valorum runs over to the door and kicks it open. They rush out of the would-be death trap. Main hallway, Space Fortress, Aquile. Starkiller, Valorum, and the princess are thrown to a hallway floor by an explosion. They get up and start down the hallway again. A voice calls out from a connecting corridor.
Hey, over here.
The trio turns and see little Artwo standing at the other end of the corridor. He waves his claw arm at them and wobbles toward them.
The power core has exceeded the normal stress quotient by 0.8. The magnetic fusion pods have evaporated. There appears to be an immediate danger.
There's a life pod station at the other end of the sector. Hurry!
The group, followed by Artwo, make a dash for the life pod, but are knocked to the ground by another explosion, which rocks the hallway. A hole is ripped in one wall, sucking debris into space. Everyone holds onto wall fixtures for dear life. Governor's quarters, Space Fortress, Aquile. Aides and officers rush through the office as Vader tries to keep things under control. Governor Hoedaack, remains calm. Watching the progress of the battle, Vader turns to the governor.
They've pinpointed every terminal. It's impossible. What are they? Where did they come from? An electromagnetic transfer has started. There's no stopping it.
Continue the fight.
We've already lost control of the planet. We must abandon ship while there's still time. Conditions are much worse than...
Continue the fight. This fortress is invincible. I will not give it up.
A giant explosion sweeps through the office. Space, Wookiee starships. The tiny starships erase the chain reaction explosions along the surface of the fortress. Laser fire is everywhere. One of the starships skimming across the surface lags behind and is caught in an explosion, disappearing into the fire.
Han, get everyone out of there. The whole thing's going to go. Return to Gordon. Get them out.
Han relays the order to the Wookiees, and the starships pull away from the crippled fortress. Main hallway, Space Fortress, Aquila. The group has made its way past the hole in the wall and is climbing into the life pods. Starkiller helps the princess into one, while Valorum and Artwo get into the other. Warning sirens scream throughout the hallways. 3 troops run toward the life pods, firing laser pistols. Valorum returns the fire, stopping the oncoming troops. Hatches are closed, and the life pods eject into space. Life pods, space, Yavin orbit. The 2 life pods drift toward the calm of the planet's surface. Starkiller and the princess embrace, and he kisses her tenderly. They watch the ominous fortress grow smaller and smaller as they drift away. Suddenly, a great flash replaces the fortress, and rubble streaks past the life pods. Several giant explosions follow. Then there is only a smoke cloud where the mighty fortress once orbited Aquila. Throne room, Palace of Light, Aquila. Queen Leia, in all her grandeur, sits on the magnificent throne of Aquila. Starkiller and General Skywalker stand to her right. Several old advisors stand to her left. Han presents Chewbacca and a delegation of Wookiees with a treaty, with gifts and a medal of honor. They bow and exit. Han moves to one side of the crowded court. Valorum stands next to him. They watch as the 2 robots, Artwo and Threepio, approach the Queen and bow.
Your service to Aquila is greatly appreciated. You are designated Class A4 and will receive Annikin and will serve Annikin Starkiller, the new Lord Protector of Aquila. Rise.
The robots rise and exit through the long entrance hall to the throne. The Queen turns and smiles at Starkiller and the General. Skywalker and Starkiller salute their new queen. Fade out. End credits.
We did it.
We did it!
We did it.
Wow. First of all, thank you all for... First of all, thank you to my cast for being amazing. You went above and beyond like a regular read. Many of you did costume changes. Many of you did voice mods. Some of you had little mustaches and wigs, and it's amazing.
Can we give like a huge round of applause to Chris really fast? Like just huge.
Yes.
Oh.
You kept the
Thank you.
energy up
Thank
the
you.
whole time from beginning to end. I was very impressed.
It was very, very good. I'm going to go around and I'm just going to ask, what was your favorite part, or was the most, just give me a comment about what you thought about the script. And then we'll say, and then just tell us who you are and what projects you're up to next. I'm going to start off with Sin, because I know you have a busy day tomorrow. So Sin.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Cynthia Marie. Yeah, I actually work as an engineer during the day, so like going to bed late is kind of. Anyways, favorite scenes. First off, Vader sucks in this. Just saying, that was like rough. Whatever.
You look great, by the way. You look amazing.
Yeah, you are moderately overdressed for how like a normal ass character Vader is in this.
Yeah, you made Vader sexy. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Darth
Thank
Dominatrix.
I'm here for that. I think yeah. But R2, D2, and 3PO scenes were probably my favorite out of everything. And also hearing all the different voice mods for the devil crew was actually pretty cool too, to kind of hear all the voiceovers just happening. Yeah, I think that's pretty much my favorite of all of it. So where you can find me, I have a long list of where you can find me. Twitter at @SynDancer, you can just see where I pop up on everything. Instagram, Cynthia__Marie, where I put videos on how I do all my makeup or past pictures of what I do. Off the top of my head, LA by Night. If you guys don't know a little show called LA by Night, go check it out. We finished that last year, but you can check out all seasons on YouTube. We're starting a new chapter, New York by Night. So check that out because you may see a familiar face soon. I'm on a bunch of other shows. Chaosium, Ruin Quest. Check that out. It's on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'm also in a D&D campaign called Gods of Color. I'm also in an Aliens game on the Initiative Order where I play kind of a similar character to this. So if you like this character, go check that out and see if I die or not. Otherwise, I love you all. Yes, I'm so darn busy. There's more that I can mention, but it's too late. My brain doesn't work and I'm really tired. So I love you all. I got to go to work tomorrow. You guys were all incredible and what an honor to share the screen with all of you.
Bison. All right. Next, we're gonna go over to Courtney. Comment and then where about the script or the experience, and then let us know what you were up to and where people can find you on the internet.
Experience was fun, because I've been a Star Wars nerd for a very long time. I always thought it was a terrible Leia, but that's fine. I think my reaction to telling Starkiller that I love him says it all. And I can't wait to see that clip. Anyway, y'all can find me on Twitter at the Anime Goddess. I'm also on YouTube, and I will post the link to my channel in chat. There it is. And on that channel, I play this. Where's my camera? I play this really cool instrument that I happen to have in my lap because I was working on stuff. I play the hurdy-gurdy. I just got a brand new one that's really cool, and so I'm hoping to start recording more, doing more live performances. And if you're going to Twin Mask, I'll be performing at the Red Weddings, to come listen to my Gertie.
All right, thank you. Next, we go over to Mike, who played General Skywalker. So just basic commentary, and then where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Thank you, Ryan. And yeah, thank you so much for having me play who I guess technically became Obi-Wan Kenobi in rewrites.
I think
that was
yeah.
really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just in general, this was certainly a bit rough in spots as a script, but you could definitely see like the DNA of the whole franchise is all in here. It's kind of crazy. I think somebody commented that it's like all 6 of the Lucas films like in one. And it was a lot of fun. I loved the droid interactions. It was probably the highlight for me. And you guys did so great bringing those 2 characters to life. So that was a lot of fun. I can be found at Cosblade. I put it in my little name thing here. That's my Twitter. I have a TikTok. There's a number 1 at the end of Cosblade for my TikTok. I do a lot of just Resident Evil and comedy content, and love doing stuff like this. So thank you again for having me. It was a blast.
All right, thank you, Mike. Next, we go to Aki. Aki, any commentary? And where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Well, obviously the droids were lovely. They were so sweet and cute. I really enjoyed watching everybody flip through their various costume changes and stuff like that. But there was one observation I made throughout the reading of this that I decided that I need to share with the audience as well. And that is that Valorum and Starkiller should have gotten together at the end of this. I will be taking no further questions. Also, I'm Aki. You can find me over on Twitter at MixGenie in a Bottle. That's MXGINIINABOTTLE. My entire streaming schedule can be found on my personal Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ShiDariAki. That's SHIDAREAKI. And the next thing you can see me on will be next Sunday not next Sunday. I'm not streaming next Sunday. I will be coming back from camping all weekend next Sunday. But in 2 weeks from now on Sunday, you can catch me over on Saving Throws show playing New Pantheon Academia, where I play a little god kid who just got their second divinity. So it's going to be awesome.
Nice. Thank you. Next, we go over to Blythe. So you are the reason why we found the script. So general thoughts. And what are you up to next, and where can people find you on the internets?
Yeah, so I've been Blythe. I just love Star Wars. I just love it. I love it so much. This is a ridiculous script, and you can see where it plays into Rebels and where it plays into, all 6 of the Lucas movies. I can see so many things. I see this is literally the lifeblood of Star Wars. I see everything. It's amazing. I also ship Valorum and Starkiller, and I'm too lazy to write that fan fiction, but someone should. As for where you can find me across the internet, just go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok sometimes, all under BlytheKala93. That's BlytheKala93. I am over on Happy Jacks RPG on Sundays right now, playing in the gayest version of the Mummy that could ever exist. It's basically 5 lesbians and their son. It's amazing. You should watch it.
I was about to ask, how could you make it gayer? And
you did.
And then I should be back at the Scabby Rooster for Total Party Kill sometime in the near future. We haven't made an official announcement. My dog has attacked yet, but I should be joining that soon. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. I talk about Star Wars a lot. I know a lot of things about it.
By the way, I'm going to double down on the Annikin, on the Starkiller / Valorum fanfic. So if someone actually writes it, I think we should perform it sometime here on the channel, as long as it passes Twitch standards.
Are you telling me that erotic is out the
why
window?
that's why there's a mature rating?
Listen.
That's why it exists.
It still needs to be appropriate to the Star Wars franchise. So imagine if it was actually made by Star Wars, but still gay as fuck. That would
Yes.
So don't use
I
that
would do
word.
that.
Yes. So I want that to happen. I want that in my channel. So if and when that happens, we'll say when that happens, it'll be performed here at an afters here on the channel, since afters is we're gonna do anything and everything. Zach, first of all, hello, and favorite comment, general commentary. What are you up to, and where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah. You can find me at Zach the Drac on Twitter and Instagram, theoretically. Also at Mayday Roleplay. We're on a hiatus right now, but we also have 2 more episodes of our finale podcast. That's going to be really cool. What else? The Die Hard Dice project I hinted at last time I was here is happening. Go on their Twitter and find out what that is. And also a very big shipper of Valor Killer. Very cool. I've learned so many incorrect things about Star Wars. I've never seen any of the movies, but I know this now. So
hell yeah.
Hashtag Valor Killer.
That is a delight that's the case. Oh, buddy. Woo.
Yeah. May the force of others be with you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Great.
Next, we go over to Wes. Why are you ducking?
No reason. I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, so this was very fun to read through and get to play with everybody, because yes, I see the influences from this in so many other Star Wars movies. But you can find me online at Wes_IRL. I do a D&D show on my Twitch channel called Yeet for Initiative. And we have the lovely PJ as one of our players now, playing the character Ryak, who was originally an NPC. And now PJ's playing him, so it's going to be much better. But yeah, that's it for me, pretty much. Thanks for having me, Ryan. This was a blast.
Oh, thank you for playing Clieg, Whitsun. Next, Tobias, commentary. Where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Sure. Commentary. Besides the lovely melodic, murderous tones of Mike, was very good the entirety of the time, and Chris's dulcet tones as well. I do have to say, Valorum, Taylor Frost won me over by far with the various hat changes. Specifically, the hat change that occurs and you voice the other character by doing this was probably the finest work of art I've seen in a while. You can find me on the internet under @Tobias McCurry, pretty much everywhere. Otherwise, Spring-Heeled Studios via Twitch. And the next thing I'm off to do, besides going camping at Twin Mask, will be the week after. There's a nerd currently in here who will also be joining me at Wild Wild West Con in Old Tucson Studios, Arizona. Oh, it's at the hotel. We don't have the cool theme park this year. Maybe next year. But that's what I'm doing.
All right, cool. Thank you. Next we go over to Brettney. I know I had you play a lot of different parts because I know you could handle it. But commentary, what are you up to next, and where can people find you on the internet?
Okay, so commentary, I have to call out Leia's character for being probably like pretty close to dealing with a 14-year-old in a household. It's like, I love you. Screw you. Bye, Mom. Don't care if you're dying. See ya. I'm out of here. Peace out. I'm going with my like BFF or whatever. You know, like that is so just, I have a almost 13-year-old. So I'm like, I'm feeling this right now. Too true to life. Too true. So where can you find me? I am all over the internet. I operate a blog at obscurum.com, obscuram.com. You can find me under Brettney Perr. It's my name on the screen, and then PERR. Actually posted in the chat there. And I am on TikTok, kind of just started taking that over. And then Instagram and Twitter, I am under @ewenchy. So you can find me all over the place.
All right. Thank you, Brettney. Gil, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, like with all of your props.
Sort of a little last minute get together with at my shop before I came home, but yeah, I had fun. I would say definitely for me the my favorite parts were the Threepio R2 duality there, but also Courtney's breakdown during that love scene. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. I also can't wait for that clip. But yeah, my name is Gil Ramirez, and you can find me at pretty much all social medias at Gil the Vlogsmith. And can't really say a whole lot about the stuff I'm doing. Just know that there's a future D&D campaign in the works. Aki's going to be involved, and yeah, I think that's all I can say. Just look for my socials. I spout off random things on Twitter mostly, but yeah.
All right, Hunter, welcome. Favorite like a commentary on tonight's script. Where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
So I've had to do a table read of this script before in screenwriting courses, and then the second draft too. And this was infinitely more fun in every way. But no, the definite highlights were the droids were awesome, and then the Valorum and officer quick change on the on screen was fantastic. Outside of that, always remember Chewie and Chewbacca are apparently different people. In terms of socials, I have a horrible last name to spell or like look at, but it's here on Zoom. I'm on most socials at Hunter Middlestat, and you can find me there. As far as what I'm doing, I help run the story at Twin Mask, which is this weekend, which like a lot of the people here are gonna be at. So you'll see me there. Yeah, I'm camping actually. No, I'm going camping this weekend.
Like I think many of you can tell what camping means this weekend. So, Finn,
not a euphemism.
I'm just trying to figure out what a twin mask is.
Oh, we don't know. None of us know. None of us have any clue.
I know lots about camping, but this whole twin mask thing that keeps coming up, I have no idea.
None whatsoever. Finn, commentary, playing one of those droids, and where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Hi. Yeah, commentary. I always love being a part of the show, so thank you, Ryan. Also, to Chris, oh my goodness, you definitely need all the gold stars on the teacher board. And it has to go for me. Gil, PJ, the little cantina scene was really funny, and I died for 5 minutes, just like PJ's one little alien line, and yeah, it was so good. You can find me on the internet at Herald of Thorn. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok now. I'm working on a few projects. Hopefully I can start getting some more information about that soon. And then I will be camping with a lot of you this weekend. So come kill me.
All right. I will keep that in the back of my mind. Taylor, thank you for joining us tonight. Commentary, and also, where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Yeah, I liked a lot of stuff about it. I actually think that like we are judging this based on a lot of what ended up on screen, when like the actual script that George Lucas wrote that we don't read often is garbage. And so like not this one, but like the actual one that ended up getting made, all that dialogue is terrible, and most of it changed while filming. But I do love that like the Wookiees in this basically were the Ewoks. Like that whole scene was essentially like, oh, they're furry fun creatures and you can't communicate, but we got to get them to help us to kill all the stormtroopers. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that parallel. You can find me, well, one, I released a movie that I directed and was acted in as well. It released in January, and it's called War Cake. You can find the website at warcakemovie.com. It's on Amazon Prime. You can get it from like Walmart. It's on Vudu. It's streaming in a lot of places. Yeah, so if you look up War Cake Movie, it'll come up. I'm also on Instagram at Frosty, FROSTTEA. Find a lot of pictures of me and films that I work on and stuff like that.
All right, thank you, Amanda. With commentary, and where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Hi, thank you for having me again. I always love doing these script reads. Chris, you did amazing doing the narration, and Michael Powell and Finn, you two as R2 and C3PO just stole every scene. And Blythe, you did such an amazing job giving the respect that line needed. I am not doing anything next except maybe going to sleep, and I am unknowable. You cannot find me on the internet.
All right, thank you. Next, Michael Powell.
Hi, I'm Michael Powell, and let's see, commentary. Well, huge Star Wars fan. Thank you, Ryan, for having me for this, and I love the fact that like in the beginning, the droids were just basically, "F the humans, we're gonna survive." Kudos to Chris for that fantastic narration. Amazing. Honestly, everybody across the board, like, this was just amazing, grand, spectacular. Yeah. Well, you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is usually at Mr. Kapow. That's MRKAPAO, or my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Michael Powell Does Stuff, because I do a lot of stuff, like my YouTube channels, Fantastic Tales of Adventure and Dastardly Tales of Horror. Let's see, my current schedule right now, streaming wise, is, let's see, Wednesdays I'm on Nat 20 Productions Official, where I play the fabulous Rufa, which is Edge of Legend Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. Let's see, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on Toyzilla Network for Toyzilla Live, which is a toy show, which I co-host. And every other Friday, I'm on the Johananon channel, where we play Modern Age, and our game is basically Mighty Max the TTRPG. Oh, and in a few weeks, I might be doing a certain project involving a certain many tentacled elder god. So, yeah. And as always, your kindness is greatly appreciated.
All right. I'm going to skip over to PJ and then have Chris go because for reasons. PJ, commentary, and where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. My commentary, I loved, of course, seeing Tyler Frost play two people at the same time. That was really funny, and the hat switching off was great. I loved Artwo and C3PO. You guys were hilarious. I loved how everyone gets a lightsaber in this piece. Like every damn person gets a laser sword. Also Chris, I don't know if you know this, there's 129 pages in this bad boy, and Chris told a story for 129 pages beginning to end. So kudos, sir. That's as a sprint and a marathon, you were tremendous. Oh yeah, except Leia didn't get a laser sword apparently. So my name is PJ. Where can you find me? Nat 20 Productions official on Twitch. We have an awesome show that we just launched this year called Wayward Arcadium, Mondays 8 to 11. We are collabing with Goblets and Gays, talking about adventurers going to college in Galarian and all the crazy things that happened. It's been a bonkers show. It's been awesome. Like Mr. Powell said, you can see us Edge of Legend Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. on Nat 20 Productions. Friday, but not this Friday because we're all camping. You can see me on Yeet for Initiative with my friend Wes as we play, I think, from like 6 to 10 on Friday nights. I have a couple other announcements that I really can't make yet because I want to make the official announcement, but there's some other awesome projects related to people who bite necks for fun and blood. And when I can tell you about that, I will. I guess in the meantime, that's it. I love you all. I'll see you around the internet's Nat 20 Productions, and have a good night. Thank you.
Chris, commentary. Where can people find you on the internets, and what are you up to next?
Oh, we've all heard a bunch of my voice, so I'll keep it relatively brief. I kind of lost it when so people criticize George Lucas for the Annikin Leia or not Annikin romance in the extended original trilogy, but clearly here he proved that he could write a compelling romantic scene that drives all of us to laugh very hard. I didn't say which way it was compelling us, but just the breakdowns through that really got me. And I actually kind of like I don't think this is a very good script. I edited it. I missed some stuff. There was, people may have noticed while my fellow actors were reading through, there was still misspelled stuff because I only did one pass through it. The fact remains that I kind of liked the Valorum turn to be like, oh, okay, I will support this Jedi. That's actually kind of effective writing. It wasn't set up as well as it could have been, and it didn't pay off as well as it could have, but that was, that was a surprise and a cool thing happened. So I'll give him that. Also, imagine the fanfic potential. Clearly, that's the place to be. So for me, I'm honestly not on the internet very much. You can, if you want me to edit a project of yours, you can reach me through my agent, Ryan Omega, that I just deputized just now. But I'm actually the head of the writing department and a logistical story staff member of the game Twin Mask. That is a LARP game in Southern California that we will be running with a few of the people here as fellow members just this coming weekend, way too soon because I have so much to do before that happens. But if you've never tried LARPing, that's the common condition of anybody trying their first game. You might want to come out and give it a shot. It's a really good time. I didn't give it a chance for a long time because I thought, oh, whatever. And then I did it once, and within 8 months, I was on staff and I was the governor of the city in game. And I dove in pretty quickly. And I think you might enjoy doing exactly the same thing that I did. Anyway, again, that's enough of my voice. Thank you all for being here. This has been a delight, and my fellow actors totally killed it. As long as we, got ourselves unmuted at the right times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, hi, I am your host, Ryan Omega, and you will find comments. So I didn't realize that Star Wars was even remotely a possibility until I asked Blythe, who I missed the opportunity to cast them in X-Men, and I asked them, what would you like to do? And they said Star Wars. And I'm like, let me look on the internet. It's right here. How is it here? So as a result, I just said, hey, I think I might be doing Star Wars, and I had at least 60 submissions of I would like to be on this. And then I had to choose from 60 people, and like there were more coming. There were also other people who, like, if you meet me in person, I'll tell you who else was actually considered for this but couldn't get on because schedules could not align. And that was kind of fun. But I absolutely loved that R2-D2 and C-3PO in spirit remain exactly as they are from the original to the final product of the movie, as well as throughout like the Star Wars franchise. I kind of thought that was amazing. I was like, and the only difference is that yes, R2-D2 doesn't talk, but the elements and spirit is still there, and I thought that was cool. I also made a comment like to my cast that I think the reason why Princess Leia is 14 and why Annikin is 18 is because around this time the Zeffirelli Romeo and Juliet came out, and Romeo and Juliet in that play were 18 and 14. So I am thinking that is probably the reason why that happened. Anyways, where can you find me? You could find me here. What's coming up on Thursday, so I'll be showing you, is something called The Excellence. It is our 9th level game spotlight, which we feature once every month, and it's a game that is nominated for the Ennies Award, and it is a game of cartoon princesses kicking ass and saving the cartoon world. It's played using the polymorph system, and it's going to be GM'd by Adriel Wilson, along with Sarah Moore, Anaya Monet, and Anthea Tully will be joining us for this Thursday. It'll be an all-queer cast to play the queerest version of all the princesses kicking asses. So that is what is coming on Thursday. Also, sometime today, about like 5 hours ago, Life Action Roleplay, the Twitch channel, had 1,000 followers. Like, it literally hit 1,000. So thank you so much for all of your support as we kind of do weird, cool things here on the channel. One thing that I have learned from a comment, but I've kind of embraced at this point, is that we don't run a ton of games here on this channel, but people did say that this is the place where your theater kids put on shows and also hang out, even if you recognize them from other parts of the streamer world. And I'm more than okay to be that place. So if you have a script, the first draft of a script that you want to perform, if you have an idea for Shakespeare, if you have an idea for a play, let's be your black box theater and let's talk about it, because why not? With that said, you could find me on Twitter under Ryan OMGA, but you can also find me here. So enough about me. It's we've had a good run. It's time for me to get some food into me, and everyone, may the force of others be with you. Good night, everybody.